to the Hard Rock Sports Studios and another edition of the Weekly Video Recap.
Man, on the face of the earth.
5 seconds left in the game. You believe in miracles? Yes!
With the players.
Live direct from hell.
But hey, enough of my yakking. What do you say? Let's boogie.
And that's my cue to start the show. Welcome to another Thursday edition of the Hard Rock and Sports Show, live from high atop Hard Rock and Sports Studios in beautiful scenic Monroe, New Jersey. We are your weekly get-together where we bring you all the biggest news from around the worlds of hard rock, heavy metal, and of course the wide world of sports. And guys, welcome to Thursday night, February the 11th. We're already in February, almost halfway through. These years, they fly by. Enjoy yourself out there, folks. I know you're not enjoying the weather. Cold, snowy. We got a lot more snow than we've gotten in the last 2 years, I think. But I hope you guys are out there enjoying yourself. Big weekend's coming up. We got the Valentine's Day weekend. I hear the dictator out in New York, the state guy, is actually letting people go inside a restaurant. Yep. You don't even have to protest. You don't even have to burn down any buildings. You can get inside. Absolutely. And big news. Dictator Mussolini himself has let in people, sports fans. That's right. We're going to be able to get 10% seating capacity at Madison Square Garden. Now, if it was, say, a funeral for a Democrat or some sort of a religious leader, I'm sure we could pack Madison Square Garden. But us lowlifes aren't really allowed to mingle at this point. He hasn't deemed us worthy yet, but that's okay. We're getting back to normalcy. It's coming, folks. We're getting some fans back in the stands. That's going to be a great thing. I'm pumped up for that. I think it's great. We're getting a little bit of normalcy in this time of craziness. So we'll see how that all plays out. But I hope you guys enjoy the Valentine's weekend. Now when people in New York can congregate indoors and have a Valentine's Day dinner. So that's always good news. So I hope you guys have a great weekend coming up. It's going to be cold. It's going to be snowy. They're talking about some sort of another storm creeping up on us. But it's warm in here, and it's warm where you are, I am sure. And we got 2 hours plus of some great stories to talk about. We'll talk about the Super Bowl. We'll talk some baseball. Lots of stuff going on in baseball right now as we flip the script and turn our attention to the national pastime, as we like to call it. I got a little wrestling. I got some football. We're going to talk about, what else do I want to talk about tonight? Let's see. I want to do one. I'll get to that later. We'll talk a little wrestling. We'll talk about Brady not being the GOAT. A lot of football tonight, so we'll get some baseball in there. We'll talk about the All-Star games, and I want to get in some stuff on, let's see, Russell Wilson, Bruce Springsteen, that hypocrite. And Iron Maiden has finally been nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We'll talk about that tonight. So we'll get all of that tonight by 9:30. Jeff's running a little late, so he'll get on a little bit. Of course, we're going to start the show off with some stuff about the Super Bowl. Not the greatest Super Bowl game. Let's see. Brady was Brady. So true time. Yeah. Coach distracted. But man, I'm not giving in to that distracted thing. I got you. I know his son was I don't know if he was arrested, but he certainly was involved in an accident where some people were hurt. Now the guy's been released from the team, and he's had a sort of past. I'm not buying into that. I'm sorry. You get on that field, you're a professional, and I'm not buying into that. I just think I said it last week. I thought the Bucs defense was the difference. I said both linebackers were going to play a role, and they certainly did. I thought Devin White and Levante David were phenomenal. They basically shut out and neutralized Kelsey and Tyreek Hill. I mean, Devin White, I haven't seen a linebacker be able to go that fast sideline to sideline and be a tackling machine in a long. I can't think of one guy. I have to really think about it. I mean, back to the LT days, but LT was just a different athlete compared to the guys he was playing against. This guy was playing against super athletes, and he was just a step ahead of everybody. But not the greatest Super Bowl I ever saw. We'll get more into it with Jeff. We'll talk a little bit. I can't. The amount of people out there who want to bash Brady, and I get that it's easy to hate the guy, but boy, it's not. Matt Singletary was good. He wasn't fast like that. I mean, he was good to the ball. Don't get me wrong, but this guy is just a machine. But it's easy to hate Brady, and I get that. But if you can't be out there, and even if you hate him, you got to respect the fact. You can tell me what you want. Okay, yes, he went to a situation that had talent. I get all of that. People are blasting that. Hey, Johnny Collins. But I got to tell you, this was a team that was 7-9 last year. This wasn't a 10-6 team, made it to the playoffs and won a game. Where you say, okay, this was a 7-9 team, didn't make the playoffs. Team that haven't made the playoffs in 12 years, haven't been significant in that way in a long time. And he comes in, they win 4 more games, and they run through the playoffs all on the road. This was no joke. Yes, I think this was a good defense. It got better and better and better as the season went on. I also think that the Chiefs were in a position where their defense was terrible, their offensive line was bad. And I'll tell you this, folks. Here's what I'm going to give you on that. Everybody's making a lot of big deals about Bieniemy and I think he's probably a very good coach. But I said this 2 weeks ago when he didn't get picked, didn't get a job. There's a lot of stuff about Eric Bieniemy. And one of the things that I hold is, okay, he's the offensive coordinator in name for a team that's got Patrick Mahomes, who Andy Reid, for most people's thoughts, calls most of the plays. There's definitely a little something there. I know there's also something from his early past that I think that's keeping people from taking him. And I don't know exactly what it is. I've read a few things. But the other thing about him is, here was a big spot. And if you heard Tyreek Hill after the game said, well, the last time we played them, they played us in man, and that's what we expected. And then they came out in this game and they played, cover 2, and they were playing zone, and they kept everybody over the top of them. And he said, we weren't prepared. Okay, so let's say you weren't prepared for that. You were guessing they were going to come at you blitzing, and they were going to put pressure on you. They were going to go man up. Whatever you thought, there was no adjustment. The Chiefs made no adjustment not to help their offensive line, not to find a way to get these guys open. They didn't try to establish a running game. And I thought there was a couple times that they actually ran the ball well, and they got right away from it. And there was plenty of time in that game. And I never felt, well, I shouldn't say that. I kept feeling, when are they going to score? Here's where they're going to score. But I never felt like they ever were going to put together a drive to put points on the board. And I got to be honest with you. I think that's an indictment. If you want to tell me that Eric Bieniemy is a great coach, okay, where was the adjustment? Hey, Andy Reid, where was the adjustment? So I'm down on that whole thing. Now, coming out of this, all I hear was, well, the NFL should not allow teams to go ahead and hire coaches before the Super Bowl because there are certain coaches that miss out because they're involved. And that's fine. I don't think that's I don't think that's wrong. I got to be honest with you. But now people talking about Brian Leftwich and Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles was a disaster. Todd Bowles is a very good defensive coordinator. Some guys just are coordinators. Okay? Some guys are just coordinators. And I think Todd Bowles may be that guy. Now, maybe he gets a second chance down the road. But don't tell me Todd Bowles, before this playoff run, anybody was thinking about hiring Todd Bowles or thought he should get a job. He was bad with the New York Jets. Okay? They had a couple in a season, 10-5, 10-6. I get all of that. But he lost that locker room. He let those guys just run wild. Okay? And as far as Brian Leftwich goes, hey, let me tell you something. Where was anybody talking about Brian Leftwich last year? So Brian Leftwich is they did nothing last year. They had a terrible record with 2 of the best receivers in the game. And then all of a sudden, he get Tom Brady and he win a Super Bowl. Now he should get a head coaching job. Listen, I'm not telling you he's a bad coach, and maybe he should get a job eventually. But I'll tell you this, it ain't today. I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't. And this whole thing of guys get, this whole thing about coaches being discriminated against, I'll tell you this. There isn't an owner in this league who would not hire a white guy, black guy, Asian, Martian, a zombie if they thought they can win a football game with them. I'm sorry. There's no way in the world that Eric Bieniemy is the absolute best candidate, and he didn't get the job because he was black. That is terrible. Yeah, I'll get to the halftime show. What a disaster the halftime. They shouldn't even have a halftime show anymore. It's a disaster. But people need to stop. If a guy in this day and age, back in the 50s and 60s, maybe even into the 70s, I'll tell you that maybe that was a mindset. I'm not going to disagree with you. But in today's day and age, absolutely not. I will tell you, there's every opportunity out there, and I don't think that color or race or religion or anything else plays into it at all. I believe that any owner will take anybody they think they can win with, and they could care less. And I'm sorry, until they're proven different, I don't care anymore about this Rooney Rule and all that stuff. The best guys are getting the job. And right now, Eric Bieniemy did not impress me through this run, and it was terrible. He was not good. So anybody, I'm trying to get woke, Lou. I'm trying to get woke, but again, it's tiring. Just the best people out there are going to get the best jobs out there. Now, do I question Sirianni getting the job in Indianapolis? Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I don't know enough about the guy, but we'll see. But you're not telling me that Eric Bieniemy was head and shoulders above Sirianni, or the guy who got hired by the Texans, and all of a sudden, they said, "Oh no, we can't take him. He's black." It's the most asinine thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And in this day and age, if an owner was actually thinking that and told his GM and told a handful of people in his organization, you don't think that would get out? Come on, folks. It's let's wake up and smell it. Okay. Yeah. Matt, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. But guys, here we are, Rockets. Once it's Thursday night, I'm flying solo till Jeff gets here. A couple of pieces of information. First off, I want to send out my condolences to my cousin through marriage, my Dominic's my wife's cousin. Dominic Ginta lost his mom. He lost his dad about 8 months ago, and he lost his mom suddenly. She moved out to Texas, and she got sick, and they discovered she had a weak heart, and she passed. And Pat Ginta was one of the nicest people I've had the pleasure of being around. She was a sweet person. If you ever had the chance to spend time with Pat, you'd come out of there smiling. She was such a nice lady. And I want to offer my condolences. I did it personally, but I'll offer them right here to Dom and his whole family on the passing of his mom. And we wish, we hope everything, that she rests in peace. And Dom and his brother and sister could find a little solace in the fact that everybody who ever got to meet his mom would say the same. So again, Dom, we're here for you as always. By the way, speaking of Dom, last week, thank you everybody who competed in the Hard Rocket Sports Super Bowl trivia contest. Everybody was a winner. Even though one guy lost, we're sending out shirts. The shirts just came in. I do have them. Hold on a second. I'm going to get one for you. Hold on. Sorry. Here's the shirt. Let's see what you guys think of it. That's the new shirt. New logo. Pretty cool. I like it. So I got a limited number, but I'm going to send some out to the people who won. A couple of people asked if anybody's out there looking, they want a shirt. I will gladly get it to you somehow. I have a limited run, so it's I'll definitely get them out to you guys. But thanks for guys for keeping in. We'll get your thoughts on the game. We'll talk a little bit about. I want to talk about All-Star games. I have a whole bunch of stuff to get to tonight. Iron Maiden to go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Russell Wilson maybe on the block. The coaching carousel. Quarterback carousel is amazing right now. Yes, Louis, I have it. I will be dropping it off to you this weekend probably. So many quarterbacks on the move. I want to talk about baseball. As baseball actually came out and said, we're going to deaden the baseball. With too many people hitting home runs. So are they confessing that it was juiced? I'm curious. Here's the thing. Why isn't baseballs like a football? Why isn't there a standard make for a baseball? Like, I don't understand. And why are we going out there to go out of our way to deaden it? It reeks. It just stinks. I don't understand this whole thing. Do we juice it? Are the seams tighter? Baseball should be made this like a football, exactly the same exact way, and everybody plays with the same ball. I just don't understand it. Johnny, you will be wearing it when the plan plays. You got it, Patrick. I promise you get one. Finelli, you're the man, Finelli. Coming by the site in the morning. Guys, I'm down on the baseball thing. We'll talk about Trevor Bauer dissing the Mets. And I got to tell you, after the story from L.A. where, he put this semi-apology out, I think if you're the Mets, you got to be glad. Why were the Mets thinking about $40 million a year for this guy who, God, I no doubt he's a good pitcher, and he was definitely the best pitcher on the market. But you could be the tallest midget in the circus, and that don't mean you're 6 feet. The guy is a good pitcher, but he's a 4 ERA. Forget about wins and losses. You're in the fours. You're not a great pitcher. He's not better than DeGrom. And what are you gonna do? Pay this guy $40 million and put him on the staff with DeGrom, who's arguably the best pitcher in baseball? I didn't understand it. I didn't understand it. So anyway, guys, we got a lot to get to. Let me get my dad on before Jeff. We'll talk about the All-Star games. Again, here's one thing. I never usually agree with the NBA players. I don't really watch a lot of NBA. I have been this year. Knicks are a little better, and it's kind of the show. I got to kind of keep up with it. But the players are upset about having to compete in an All-Star game. I have to tell you guys, I think All-Star games are bogus at this point. I mean, I don't know anybody who watches the Pro Bowl. Not that they're having it this year. I have not watched the Pro Bowl since Phil Simms won the MVP. So that's 1986, I believe, or 87. The one All-Star game I always thought that was kind of for real was baseball. And the problem with it was, when baseball All-Star game was great, it was because, you didn't have crossover. Guys weren't leaving and playing other things. So to see, Fred Lynn and Thurman Munson on the same field together was great. To have, trying to think a great pitcher. Let's say Jim Palmer throwing to Carlton Fisk or to Jim Sundberg. It was fun to watch. But now with free agency and interleague play, the All-Star games are shot. All-Star games are shot. So, to me, throw them all out. I think it's all a waste of time. If you want to have a break in the middle of the baseball season, have it. You want to have a break in the hockey season, have it. Take 3 days off and give everybody a break. I don't care about that. You want to do anything? I would say if you're going to do anything, screw the games and just do the competitions. Do the home run derby. Do the slam dunk contest. People are interested in that. Even I think the slam dunk contest is overly done. The best of them is the hockey one. If you ever watch the hockey skills competition, that's a lot of fun. So do those. But the games themselves, who watches the NBA All-Stars? It's like 150 to 148. Nobody plays defense. Nobody cares. And I don't even know why they're doing dishes. Nobody in the stands. Screw it. But let me get my dad on and let's see what he's got to talk about. And we'll get to you guys and hang in there. We got plenty to get to. Guys, I hope you guys are going to enjoy your Valentine's Day weekend. And, and again, Governor Mussolini in New York has reached down from the summit and said, you know what? Let's throw you a little bit of crumbs. Let me give you a little bit of crumbs and let you go inside and eat. If you protest, and I guarantee you'll be able to protest outside. You could probably protest indoors. You could probably take like 75 people and put them in a phone booth, and he'd be okay with it. Governor Mussolini. Let me get my dad on. Let's see what's up with Pop. Let's see what we're going to talk about. What's up, Pop?
What's up? Nothing.
What's going on, Pops? What's on your mind this week?
Well, I thought the Super Bowl stunk.
As a football game, I would agree with you, Dad. Yes.
The halftime show was the worst
thing
I've seen in my life.
Oh, my God. What were they thinking about?
The go to the bathroom.
Oh, it's a perfect opportunity to find something else on TV. I didn't watch a second. I caught it a little later on. I caught some highlights of it, but what a disgrace.
I don't understand what kind of audience. I don't understand that. Is that you're telling me that's what the average person watching TV wants to see? They say Weekend. I don't even know the guy's name. Man.
The Weekend. When somebody told me it was The Weekend, I thought they meant that's when it was happening. I didn't know there was such a thing. Do you know that guy
was going to be there?
Yeah.
I said, gee, I do too. The football game. I was never really a big fan of his. I got to give him credit. Of his era, he's the best quarterback that I've seen in a long time. Okay, and the only way you're going to beat him is the way the Giants showed you. You have to put, like you do to any quarterback, put a lot of pressure on him. That's exact. Holmes is front line. They should take those guys out, and they should be ashamed of themselves. I mean, they were snapping the ball, and he looked like Richard Todd. He snapped that ball, he got to go right down. I mean, he never had a chance to throw it.
No, not at all.
And Andy Reid, I agree with what you said. You know, you understand the first half. You were trying to run. You seen it wasn't working. So you change your scheme. You go from one thing to another thing.
Yeah.
Okay? He just stepped with the thing. And then it looked like in the end of the third quarter, he just gave up. He just said, you know what?
Yeah.
This is what it is. I mean, this poor kid got the ball, and he was running for his life.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dad. I honestly agree. I don't think that they did not look like a prepared team. I mean, you knew what was going to beat you, what they were trying to do to beat you, and you didn't adjust to it. There was no adjustment in it at all. And listen, I'll give Mahomes credit. He's a great quarterback, but he did not play well either. I mean, let's be honest. There was
great. I don't think he's a great quarterback. He reminds me a lot of what that guy named whatever his name was, Richard III. I mean, he's a scrambling quarterback. He's got good receivers. He plays good. But to put him on the same par, no, I'm sorry. You can't even put him near Brady. I mean, they compare. He won one Super Bowl, and you're going to tell me that? I mean, I'm not a great Brady fan. I think he's as this era is, I think he's the best.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think he's the greatest player of all time. I've saw some people arguing that this week, and I don't think Brady's the greatest player I've ever watched. I'm still going Lawrence Taylor, Walter Payton, and then Jerry Rice. But I would say that I've witnessed Tom Brady's. He's got 7 rings, 2 different teams. He took a team that was 7. Even if you want to say, well, the Patriots were already a good team, okay, I'll give it to you. They got Belichick. He went to a team where a coach who has never won before, with a team that was 7-9 last year, and spun them around and won a Super Bowl. You know what? It's hard to beat. So right now, Mahomes, he's in the they want to say, oh, he's going to be the GOAT. He's going to be the next. You know what? He's got to win 6 more titles, maybe 7 more titles, and he lost to Brady head-to-head when Brady's 43. I'm sorry. I'm not knocking.
I don't think he'll ever be, Tommy.
Yeah.
Running quarterbacks, you see them. I hate to say it, and the people can argue with me all they want, but a running quarterback does not last too long in the NFL. I'm sorry. Look, where are they? What happened?
No, I got you. I got you. You can't be a. And I don't necessarily put him as a running quarterback in the sense of Lamar Jackson or some of these other guys. I think he's going to get hurt somewhere along the line trying to make the plays he does. He contorts his body and he throws from all different angles. And I think there will be a spot where he may get hurt. Here's the thing. What this proved this year was it is very hard to repeat. It is very hard to do what the Patriots did. Now, the Patriots didn't only repeated once, and that was almost 17 years ago. So this is not an easy thing to do. And again, I won't knock Mahomes. I think he's probably, if I had to pick a quarterback today, for the long term, it would be him. Obviously, if I needed to win a game right now, it might be Brady or Rodgers. But there's no doubt that the kids are good. He was running for his life out there, and I blame that on the coaches. Bottom line, but it was. You know what? You just never felt like they were ever going to be in the game. When is it going to start? When is it going to happen? When is something going to go on? And nothing did. So tough game.
They just played terrible.
Yes, I agree. And
the ought to be ashamed of themselves. They were running right through
Yeah.
them, like they weren't even there.
Yeah, no,
They
agreed.
were going
Listen,
right through them.
100%, Pop. It was
I've
terrible.
never seen that before.
Hey, let me get before I let you go. Let me ask you about this baseball thing and them deadening the baseball. What was your thought on it?
Baseball lost a lot of its pizzazz with records. Baseball was one of the only sports
Yep, when the records mattered.
that had a mattered.
Yeah.
Everybody knew 500 home runs, 300 wins.
Mhm.
You knew stolen bases. Everybody knew it.
Sure.
Today it's such a joke. You got shortstop, second base. True, the shortstop, second basemen are much bigger than the old days.
Yeah.
But I do believe there was a Deadpool era, and I believe when Ruth came in, he opened it up
Mm-hmm.
and they changed it. But then now they wanted it's you got everybody but the managers hitting 500 home runs. It's not a record no more. Doesn't mean anything anymore.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, I got it. I just, to me, I don't understand why the need to deaden the ball. I mean, it should be, the baseball should be made the same way every year. That's the part all these years when they said, no, the ball's not livelier. To me, you just basically admitted that it is.
How about the fences? Why are you bringing fences in?
Yeah.
I mean, baseball, again, is one of the only sports that everybody has a different fence.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, 320 feet, 90 feet,
Yeah.
80 feet. It's the only sport that I know of that doesn't have a consistent. Hello.
Yeah. Sorry, that was
You there?
I knocked myself off the air for a second. Yeah. I'm back.
Oh,
Sorry. But yeah, no, I got you. Yeah. Listen, every other sport has everything is set. So I get that part. Dad? Hello? Pop? I lost him. Damn it.
mean anything anymore. You really don't.
Yeah. No,
Sorry to say.
I got you. It's a different era. It's different times, Pops. Dad? Pop? Hello? Anybody hearing me out there? Yeah, I lost my dad, I think. Let's see if I get it back. Nope, he's gone. Yeah, Pop has dropped. Okay, you guys still out there? I hope you guys are still out there. I hope no problem, Jeff. Take your time. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, Hard Rocket Sports 347-826-9934 is the number. If you want to call in on the radio side, if you don't want to call on the radio side, that's okay. I also want to say big shout out to my friends over at RFL Records. Yesterday was the big debut of the RFL Records Talk in the Fast Lane podcast, hosted by our good friend John Marhefka. They did a great job. I got to listen to a good part of it last night, every Wednesday night, and we are an official sponsor of the Talk in the Fast Lane show. Every Wednesday, 7 to 9 on John's Facebook page or the show's Facebook page. And listen, they had a great time. I mean, I saw Jeff Westlake, the boys from Red Rain, Sammy from Red Rain, the boys from Corners of Sanctuary, great band. If you get a chance to listen to Corners of Sanctuary, very old school metal band, man. Oh, good stuff. And John does a great job. He's a big music guy. I mean, if you don't know RFL Records, you don't know John, you should, take a minute and visit their website. And John's also a huge sports fan, so you get a little sports in there too. So, and the Hard Rocket Sports Show was mentioned. We were on the bottom of their scroll. We were an official sponsor of that show. So make sure you check in with those guys and watch that show. Also on Wednesday nights, if you're in the car or you're listening on the radio, you want to hear Pass the Mic with Mike Passamonte and Carl Graham and JP for great sports. And, of course, right back here on Thursday nights for the Hard Rocket Sports Show on the Hard Rocket Sports Show Network every Thursday from 7 to 9:30. Usually with me and Jeff, he'll be on shortly. Again, maybe we're jumping around a little bit. We got my good friend Will Cloak will be popping up. That's right, Will Cloak's popping up for us in a few. Will's going to be talking a little we're going to be talking about albums released in 1991. Maybe I'll get you up a little bit on that. We'll talk about some of the albums that were released and the bands, and it was kind of that time when things were changing over from metal to grunge, and just a few albums that came out then. You got Badlands with Voodoo Highway, good album. The Bullet Boys, Freak Show. I see. Let's see, Guns N' Roses, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. I hated it. Queen's Greatest Hits, Rat and Roll. That's a compilation. Red Hot Chili Peppers, Blood Sugar Sex Magic. That's some of the albums. David Lee Roth, A Little Ain't Enough. Rush, Roll the Bones. So, Yngwie Malmsteen's, the Yngwie Malmsteen Collection. So many, the Macaulay Schenker Group and MSG. So, guys, about 8:15 we'll be on, and we'll talk a little bit about all those albums. And until then, it's me and you. We'll talk. Let's get back to the Super Bowl a little bit. I'm going to hold some of the other stuff to talk about with Jeff. Let's see. Where do I want to go? Super Bowl. Let's talk about it. Okay. So we talked about it with my dad here. First off, the ads. You know, the commercials used to be so much fun. You know, everybody was always a big thing, and I would tell you, there's probably two ads that came out that I'll tell you were memorable. One, I kind of like the Ashton Kutcher, Mila Kunis one. I thought that was a little funny. That was semi-amusing. It wasn't bad. So I would say that was a decent one. It wasn't top of the line. Some of the Budweiser commercials of years past. The other one was the Bruce Springsteen one, and I wanted to throw up. I got to be honest with you. I wanted to throw up. Here's Bruce getting that. I'm every man. That guy ain't been an every man since he was never a man. I mean, you got to be kidding me. He's driving in Middle America in a Jeep, stopping at a church. Who are we kidding ourselves? This guy is the biggest jerk off, flat out, plain and simple. Okay, and then you come to find they dropped the ad now because he got arrested for a DWI or DUI for chugging some tequila in Sandy Hook National Park. I got no time for that guy. He is the biggest douche. I don't understand it. He just don't. I'll give him something. Maybe the guy's a good songwriter. I don't know. I'm not a Springsteen fan. But the voice, I'd rather be stuck I'd rather be locked in a phone booth with Bob Dylan on repeat than listen to Bruce Springsteen. I would rather listen to you. I would rather be locked in my trunk with the car on a YouTube tribute station than listen to Bruce Springsteen. I can't stand the guy. He's an arrogant ass. And that whole ad with him driving through the country and he's visiting the church at night. Are we kidding ourselves here? We're going to reunite. Where was reuniting in 2016, Bruce? Were you the guy saying, you were going to move out of the country? Please. But yeah, you're probably right, John. I'm sure it has something to do with that. Now, second thing. So we got past the edge with unmemorable. That was nothing good. Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher. The halftime. Come on. Now, I thought I knew it, but I confirmed this year that these guys don't get paid. Okay, you go on the halftime show. I think before it was for free. Now you actually have to pay. The Weeknd paid $7 million to appear on the halftime show. $7 million. Are we kidding ourselves? Seriously, are we kidding ourselves? You paid $7. I get the eyes that are on it, but it's terrible. I mean, is that what it is? Is that why he got picked? I mean, I had to endure. I got through 2 minutes of Miley Cyrus and Billy Idol opening it. I wanted to vomit. So, here's what I say. There's so many great artists out there. Why can't they get somebody out there who people will enjoy? I mean, I'm not a fan of Bruno Mars, but the guy did a nice job. I'm not a Bruno Mars guy. I mean, but the guy's talented at least. I mean, he sounded good. I mean, you can get. I mean, you could get the retreads of the Rolling Stones. I'm not saying you got to have metal bands on. I mean, that's what I want to see. But I'm a music fan. I don't mind. You get some decent. But gee, I mean, if you're going to charge the NFL with all that money, they're going to charge somebody. Go out there and get some good talent. Get some people to stay. You know how many people you lose during halftime? I mean, last year, I had to suffer through Shakira and J-Lo. Come on, man. Stop. So that was a waste of time. Pre-game show. I don't know if anybody else out there watched the pre-game show. I did. I was home. I was working on the show. I was doing some research. I was also putting in my prop bets. I'll get to those later. Did okay. Didn't do great. I had the Bucks and the over. Talked myself into the over. I was going to go under. But I went to the over. I went to the over and lost. But anyway, we'll get to some of that later on. So I watched it, and this, usually the pregame show is lots of fluff pieces. It's they're going to talk about the backup center and where he went to school, and he's a deacon in his church, and there's a lot of fluff pieces. I get that. Yes, John, you're right. John, boobs at the halftime show is always big. Just bring the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders out there and let them do a few routines. I mean, you'll keep every man in America. I don't know. There's got to be somebody better than what we're watching, but it was all about woke. It was all, it was all about them telling most of America that you're racist, and you don't know it. You don't know you're racist. Listen to us. You're racist. That was the whole thing. That was the whole thing. And I have to tell you, you can watch the last 15, 20 minutes and got most of what you're going to do to learn about the game. Break it down. If I'm watching a pregame, get some of the great players of today, or even a past play, and get them out there and let them break down a few games and tell us why. So, I know people hear all the time, but at least that's semi-interesting. 4 hours was a lot, and I remember a few years back, I think Fox did 8 hours or something ridiculous. So I get it, but stop with the wokeness. Stop with the wokeness. So I don't know, guys. It was a disappointing game. Now, when it comes to the game, and we're going to get really deep into it. Again, I said it. Nobody was prepared on the Chiefs' side. That you got out coached. But I also think that the Bucs did a nice job of not being one-sided, not relying on any one thing. I thought the running game was really well. I thought getting Fournette and both Jones into the game, and Fournette did a great job. But the Chiefs, on the Chiefs' end, again, there was on either side of the ball, there was no adjustment made. And go into halftime, you had all that extra time, and you come out of there and you don't adjust to it. That to me is a sin. And to me that's a blight on Andy Reid. I'm sorry, Andy Reid's got to take the hit for that. Hold on a second.
Game very easy for the offense. From the 45, 6 DBs on the field for the Chiefs.
Yeah, okay. I've got some highlights of the game up there right now. But what I saw was a team that was very aggressive in the Bucs, and they went out there and they pitched the game plan and they followed it. I mean, everybody was involved. I mean, even Antonio Brown, 5 catches, believe 22 yards. Brady moved the ball around. Guys were involved. Gronk looked like the Gronk of 5 years ago. I thought it was a good job by the Bucs and Brady. And guys, I'm sorry, you guys can knock Brady all you want. It's a guy, 43 years old. 3 touchdowns, and he should have won the MVP. The MVP either should have been one of the linebackers, probably David. If not, it should have been Gronk.
Really done a good job of
all right, no way Brady was the MVP of that game, but it looks good, right? So who cares? At the end of the day, who really cares?
And it's Sorensen.
But again, a bad job by those guys. Who would have thought that there was no touchdowns for the Chiefs? I mean, who would have thought that? I mean,
with the touchdown.
You fell for Patrick Mahomes. That's all I can tell you. You fell for Patrick Mahomes.
This is going to be a touchdown. I think Kansas City held again on the other side of the field. I was watching up top.
And the other thing I want to bring up on that is Tyrann Mathieu. Okay, now Tyrann Mathieu has changed his image. He's turned himself into this, good player. He's a good player, well respected around the league. But
Wide
his
receiver screen,
tweet
and he's
after
going
the
to be
game
thrown
was,
out about 2
was,
yards short.
was crazy. You know, he put this. Brady said something that I never thought he'd say, and good for Michael Irvin. Michael Irvin went out and said, don't put that up there. You make it sound like Tom Brady told you the N-word, and we all know he didn't. So whatever he said, either say what he said, or just say, hey, I overdid it.
There's the pass.
And I just think that there was a lot of soreness on that side. I think that Tyrann Mathieu was pissed off. And rightly so. They played terrible football. It was a terrible football game. Just 31-9? Who would have thought that the Chiefs would not have scored double digits in them? I mean, I thought the Patriots would, the Bucs would win. I picked them, but
they rush 5. It's picked up.
That's
with the catch.
And we'll get back into a little bit more. Oh, and the ratings. And the ratings went down. And I tell you what, I said it. I thought the ratings would be up because most people are home watching it. There should be more. And the NFL should pay attention. I mean, listen, it wasn't like they got 10 million people. They still got like 99 million people watching it. But it's down. It was down from 113 million last year.
Right under the.
And this was a big football game. Think about it. Brady, Mahomes, Chiefs going for the repeat. And here's the funny part. Let's take that out. Okay. From screen. Here's the funny part of that whole thing. The two biggest markets was Kansas City, naturally, and New England. People up in Boston were rooting, either rooting for or rooting against Brady. Those were two biggest markets out there. So it tells you a lot. That tells you a lot about it, about what the thought process was. So again, a terrible game. Football's in the books. We'll talk a little bit about Jeff. I want to get his take on it when he pops up. But we're going to move on. Again, Will Cloak, about 815, 1991 albums that were released. We'll do a little wrestling. I got a little Stone Cold Steve Austin for you. I want to talk a little bit about All-Star games. Okay, let's move on to I want to talk about Iron Maiden. We got so much to talk about tonight. Guys, again, remember, Hard Rocket Sports every Thursday night, 6, 7 to 9:30. We're sitting here doing our thing. We hope you guys come back every week. We will be off next week, as a matter of fact, just so everybody knows. But hopefully you guys will be back with us on the 25th. I might have a special surprise guest. I'm working on it. I want to thank people out there helping us get it. What I would think is a huge guest. Maybe I'm a little old, so it may not matter to the young crowd, but those old guys, it would be a huge get. They'll New York sports figure from the 70s. I'll give you a little tease. Something I'm going to be working on. The little sports figure from the 70s. I'm not going to give you any more. So you got to come back and you got to check it out. But again, we'll be off next week. Back on the 25th with our usual brand. We'll be doing a lot of baseball and all that stuff. And again, guys, hope you guys get out and enjoy the Valentine's Day weekend. Get out with your significant other, or even take yourself out. You can. Governor Mussolini's letting you out. You might as well get outside and go eat some dinner. Go out to some of the great places this area has to offer. Out here, I go to Feast. We've been 35% capacity now. And now that Governor Mussolini and the Bozo have woke up, and now they'll be letting 10% of use back into restaurants. So hopefully some of my favorites, like the Juicy Lucy over on Father Cap, they'll be getting open soon, I hope. I think it's March. So hopefully we'll get to go to Juicy Lucy and have some fun there. But in the meantime, you guys get out there, enjoy this weekend, and make sure you buy flowers for your significant others. Let's see what else we're going to get to. Let's talk about the All-Star games. Here's my thing. I'm not a big fan of All-Star games. I haven't been in a long time. I want to say the last baseball All-Star game I really, really watched or got it to watch it was probably early 90s. Bo Jackson hit the big home runs in San Francisco. I can't tell you the last time I watched an NBA All-Star game. NHL All-Star game, it's been a while. Probably the 90s. I can't remember too much in the 2000s where I sat down and watched an NHL All-Star game. And MLB, like I said, and the Pro Bowl, Sims was quarterbacking. I think the last time I watched an entire Pro Bowl game. So, I agree with the players. It's almost a way. I don't understand why they're having one. I don't agree with NBA players very often. And this one I kind of do. I don't know why the need to have this game. this year. You're so worried about contaminations and screenings and vaccinations and everything else, and you're going to take players from all the different teams around the country and bring them into one place. It just sounds like a recipe for disaster. You want to give the guys a break. I don't say how they need a break, but if you want to give them a break, why would you do it and jam 25 or 30 guys into a place? It just makes no sense to me. It's a meaningless game. The fans can't. I'm maybe they're going to let a few people in. I don't even know where it is this year, and I really don't care. I won't be watching it. It just doesn't make any sense, guys. It doesn't. I mean, who's making a decision? DeBozo? Did he recommend this? I don't get it. So, but All-Star games need to go the way of the Edsel, of the Dodo Birds, and it needs to be put away. You know what? There's no need for All-Star games anymore. Once baseball went to free agency, once baseball brought in interleague play, the baseball All-Star game, which was the only one that was even remotely credible, in my opinion, it stopped being credible because I see these guys on the field together all the time. The guys are just, every year there's people moving around the league. Guys are playing on 6 or 7 or 8 different teams in their career. It's not a novelty anymore. It's not fun. It's not like I won't see, a couple of years ago, Stanton and the Judge were battling in the home run derby. And you're like, wow, one of these guys on the same team. And 2 years later, they are. It's ridiculous. So to me, it's just a waste. I think it's cheapened the World Series. I have to be honest with you. Interleague play. I don't know. I think you do a little bit, but to do it the way they are now, where basically you're playing against entire divisions every year. When Yankees playing the Mets and the Red Sox playing whoever it was, or the Cubs and the Cardinals and the White Sox or Dodgers, A's. I mean, you can do something that's rivalry driven. I get it. Play 3 games or 6 games, but this schedule they have now, it sucks. They put the knife in the heart of the All-Star game. So, but what do I know? I'm sure Adam Silver's not going to listen to me. I'll give Adam Silver one credit. He when Mark Cuban decided that he wasn't going to play, he was listening to the community. Mark Cuban, and I'm jumping around tonight, but this is the way I like to do it. Mark Cuban said, I was listening to the community, and they feel that song doesn't represent them, and they're still, whatever the community that does, there's 40% of the area, 50%, let's say 50% of the area feels that way. What about the other 50% who wants to hear it? How about that? And Adam Silver is no dummy. He looked at the ratings last year. He sees the ratings this year. You notice there's no, slogans on the back. There's no wokeness this year. And he said, you will play the All-Star game. You will all stand up out there. That's the rules. And they're doing it. And I'll give Adam Silver credit. I blasted them last year. I'll give him credit this year. Okay, so Mark Cuban, you're only listening to 50%, if that. And again, you know what? It goes against you. Everybody wants to say, well, kneeling is not against the country. It's against the way that people are treated by the police. Horse shit. Horse of shit. Shit of horse. I'm not buying it. You just said it. You're blasting our national anthem. You don't like it? Don't play. So I'm glad that Adam Silver stepped up and forced Mark Cuban to go out there and play the national anthem. So good for him. Well, I blasted them last year. I'm going to at least give him a little bit of credit this year. So, but guys, so it's 10 to 8. We're waiting for Jeff to pop up. We've been bouncing around. We talked a little bit. We'll talk a little more baseball now. I'm saving the football stuff for Jeff. I'm saving the Iron Maiden for Jeff. We got Will Cloak at 8:15. So I'm trying to get rid of some of the stuff I don't think Jeff wants to talk about. Let's see. What else did I have in here that Jeff probably wasn't going to want to talk about? We'll get to that later. Trevor Bauer. Let's go back to Trevor Bauer in baseball. If I'm the Mets, I think the Mets should breathe a sigh of relief. First of all, I said it earlier. You couldn't possibly bring him sign Trevor Bauer, pay him $40 million this year, $45 million next year, and not piss off some of the other guys on your team. Now, this is not a guy who's thought of as the best pitcher in baseball. He's not. He's not even probably in the top 5. Top of my head, you obviously got DeGrom, Cole, Scherzer. I don't know about Strasburg. You're in that territory now. Is he better than Kershaw? A couple of those guys out in LA that I'm drawing a blank on. To me, he falls in that 5 to 10 group. Is that worth $40 million? Now, you're the Dodgers. You've done a great job with your cap, with your taxes, your luxury tax. I should call that the cap, the luxury tax. And you're trying to repeat again. I mean, this team could do a serious change in the year with having to pay contracts. So I understand he's an LA guy, and I think from the very beginning that's where he's wanted to go. And I think he just used the Mets. I think the Dodgers stepped back, let the Mets set it up. The night before, the Mets thought they had it done. They thought this was a done deal, and were just fine-tuning this. And the Dodgers jumped in, and it got close enough, and he said, okay, that's it. I'll take it. But I think in the end of the day, this guy could never have handled New York. I don't think he's talented. He would have come here, maybe not been as successful as the Mets would have hoped. I'm sure he would have won games. This is going to be a good Met team. But I think he would have been tough in some. He would have been a little tough in some big spots, and you would have had the fans, the media, all over him, and I don't think he would have reacted to it well. So he goes out to LA. He doesn't have to be the best pitcher on that team. He was probably the highest paid. He doesn't have to be the best pitcher on that team. They're already a good team. They're going to be a good team this year. So, again, I think the Mets should breathe a sigh of relief that they're not stuck with that guy for 2 years or better. They're not dealing with all that stuff in the clubhouse. I mean, he's out there 5 minutes. You got people chasing him through a hotel for an autograph. He essentially blows them off and then writes a thing and says, you know what? I look forward to being there. I love the Dodger fans already, blah, 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 blah. But leave me alone on my personal time. And I'm paraphrasing. And, of course, he's probably a lot more polite than that. But come on, man. I mean, the guy's got no clue. You already got a suspect reputation. How about this? How about go out of your way to say, Jesus Christ, it's got $90 million to play baseball. Let me be joyous. Let me be an ambassador for baseball, an ambassador for the Dodgers. Let me go out there and celebrate the fact that I just got this big contract. And no, he's already got to write apology letters. I mean, seriously, it's just insane. So listen, good for the Mets. I think ultimately they dodged the bullet, and good for them. And they get to take that money and use it in other places. Jackie Bradley Jr. would be a good pick. Maybe make a trade, or there's a couple of free agents. They could think about Turner. Justin Turner's still out there. I mean, that's a good bat. Now, the problem for the Mets, and here's the problem with baseball right now, is no DH in the National League. Now, I think you're going to get the DH next year because you have the collective bargain agreement out this year, and that's going to be in it. Now, the players wanted it, the owners wanted it, but neither wanted to give it up. Everybody wanted to use it as a pawn for whatever else. See, I don't know what the players' problem is, because the two big things that I know of that the owners want is expanded postseason, which I don't like. Okay, I don't like the expanded postseason. Okay, I don't know if anybody else does. I don't. I think you're cheapening it and cheapening it and cheapening it. And I don't want to hear about the football. Oh, well, the Giants made it at 6-10. Giants won the division. They didn't make it as a wild card. I said the same thing in the football. I don't want you to add more wild cards. I want teams to fight to get in. I like the fact that the teams have a chance toward the end, but I don't want to see consistently, 6-10, 7-9 teams making the playoffs. I just don't. And in baseball, I feel the same way. Don't cheapen baseball by bringing in, more and more wild card teams. But okay, let's say it's above the purist in me, so I don't get it. Okay, Why don't the players want it? I don't get it. You get more of their players playing longer in the year, making more money. Wow, how terrible is that? So I don't get from the players' perspective. I understand they're using it, but the Mets are going to suffer a little bit because they have a team that's built. Dominic Smith at first and Pete Alonso DHing. They could go get a Justin Turner and DH him a couple days a week. Without that spot. And listen, who wants to see the pitchers hit anyway? None of these guys. In this day and age, if I'm an owner, I'm telling my guy, go stand up there and just stand there. It's an automatic out. I mean, even at a good pitcher, what are they batting 140 with a homer and 3 RBIs? Nobody wants to see pitching anymore. So I don't get all of that. But you know what? Okay, you know what? Throw it out. That's not going to happen this year. Now, baseball did leave some of the rules in from last year. They did leave in a couple things like let's see. They left in the runner at second base, which I don't like in extra innings. I don't like it. I don't mind the shortening. If you get to like the 14th inning, you could do it then. The game's getting a little old. You're running out of players, but not in the 10th inning. Play the game. By the way, I just saw something on TV. Did anybody see the woman who put Gorilla Glue in her hair? Now, she might be the dumbest person I've ever seen. And again, I don't know her. Like, what were you thinking? But you know who's dumber? The people who donated to her GoFundMe page. She actually put a GoFundMe. Now I saw it. She had successful surgery, they called it, to remove the glue from her hair. And I'm glad that she's not suffering anymore and all of that. But I got to ask the question: what were you thinking? Like when you sat down and said, "I don't have a hairspray. What can I use?" And you went, "Oh yeah, let me use Gorilla Glue." I mean, at that point, you got to hit yourself in the head with a tack hammer. You have to. Yeah, you got to hit yourself in the head with a tack hammer and go, "What was I thinking about?" But again, who are the people who I think at some point I saw it was $13,000. So I'm officially starting my own GoFundMe. I need new shoelaces for both shoes, and I think for my work shoes. So I'm starting a GoFundMe. Can you please send me money so I can buy new shoelaces for my sneakers and my work shoes? I think something about 10,000 will do it. So please do me a favor. I'll put some information up on that is. But I just see the co-host of the Hard Rock and Sports Show just finally showing up. Man, working his ass off out there. Let's bring on my dear friend and the backbone of the Hard Rock and Sports Show, Jeff Tomlinski. What's up, Hefe?
What's going on, man? I'm sorry I had to barge in like that, but I got to add my 2 cents because my wife were talking. Can you hear me?
Can't hear you.
How? Nothing?
Not hearing you at all.
How's that?
I'm not hearing you at all, my friend.
Oh, shit.
Nope, not at all.
Hold on. Let me see what's going on.
Yeah, I can see your lips moving.
That's not good.
Not hearing you at all.
Try that. How's that?
Let me see if I'm doing anything wrong on my end. Nope. Hold on.
This should be working.
Nope, not me, Jeff. I think it's got to be on your end. Nope, not hearing Jeff at all. Some people would say this is the best Jeff's ever sounded, but I wouldn't go so far as to say that. Yeah, I don't know. You want to try to log off and come back? You want to?
All right.
I don't know. Go ahead. He'll be right back though, so we'll get Jeff back on. But yeah, I had to sneak that in because that had to be the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Somebody put that Gorilla Glue shit in their head. I don't get it. But Cutlets is back. Let's see.
Can you hear me now?
Nothing.
No.
I'm not hearing you at all.
All right.
See, I'm getting some messages here. Yeah, I'm not hearing Jeff at all.
Give me my iPad.
But again, guys, make sure Wednesday night you tune into our good friend John Mahefka and everybody over at the Talking the Fast Lane show, and of course our good friends Mike and Carl and JP at Pastor Mike. Every Wednesday night, those guys are all competing for 7 and 9 slots. But if you want to hear some great music talk, you go to Talking the Fast Lane. If you're more of the sports aficionado, you go over to Pastor Mike and enjoy yourself. Jeff is working feverishly to get on the air. Feverishly, as I say. And we talked a lot. Right? We got a lot to get to still. We're just waiting on Jeff. I want to get to some wrestling. I want to get to hold off on the quarterback carousel. A lot of stuff in the NFL we could talk about with Jeff when he finally gets on. And let's see what else. Are you made into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Again, guys, remember it's a Valentine's Day weekend, so make sure you are you buy your honey, your special person, a little something, some flowers and whatever, and enjoy your weekend. Get out there and have some dinner, go out for a nice dinner, support the community. So Hard Rocket Sports is here. Coming off the down Super Bowl onto football season. We're calling it a day, and we'll be up with the baseball season now. Let's try Jeff again. Hefe.
What's up? Can you hear me?
No, maybe it's me.
It's got to be.
Yeah, it's got to be. I guess. I don't know.
Got to be.
Let's see. I don't know how to fix this now. Jeff.
Can you hear me?
Edit mic settings. Let's try that. No, that's not letting me do anything. Yeah, it can't be Jeff still. It's got to be me. I just don't know what it could be. And my dad worked before. That was working. Let's try something. Hey, Jeff.
Can you hear me? I can hear you.
No, it's not. It's still not working. Unmute.
Can you hear me now?
It can't be Jeff.
Can you hear me now?
Guests. Hello. My mic's working. No. I don't know. I don't know why I'm not getting Jeff.
Try something else.
Hey, my dad worked early. That was no problem. But let me. I'm going to shut down the radio show. I don't need the radio show. Sorry, guys. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties here. I'm not. For some reason, Jeff is mute. Edit mic settings. Jeff?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Nope.
I'm going to try my phone now.
Okay, that's not working. I don't know what to do here. All right, Jeff, hang in there. I'm going to reboot and see what happens. You heard me?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody hang in there. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Let's see. Jeff, Hefe?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, Jeff, you're not there. I'm not hearing you. Camera, audio, default mic, my speaker.
Hold on. Let me try this.
Am I not hearing anybody?
Hey.
Hmm.
Hey.
Very interesting monster. You're hearing me though, right? Let's see, Jeff.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's not you, it's me, I guess. I just don't know what I'm doing wrong.
Want me to call in?
I don't. Hold on a second. Just trying to figure something out here. Why am I not hearing anything? Jeff? Nothing?
Can you hear me? I hear
you. Are you hearing me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's you coming back. So that's you hearing me, Jeff?
I can hear you now.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I don't know why I'm not hearing you. Edit mic settings. The problem is I shut down. You said you couldn't hear me at all. Now you can?
I can hear you.
Okay. I had my mic off for some reason. I don't know. The problem is I shut down the Blog Talk radio show, so I can't even go up through Blog Talk right now. Will's supposed to pop up in a second. I'm hoping he comes on. I can maybe see if he's working through this now, but audio. I'm gonna try something else right now. Let's try. I just don't know why I'm not getting Jeff.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I know. It's not you. It's got to be me. I just don't know why all of a sudden this week it's not working. It works every other weekend. I don't know why. Try now, Jeff.
Can you hear me now?
Now I got you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have no idea what I just did. All I did was go on to the main and take the mic and go 0 to 100 again. And
maybe my volume was lowered, but
I don't
whatever.
know.
At least I'm back.
Okay, we got you good, man. I'm sorry, everybody out there. We had a lot of people listening earlier, so I hope you guys are back out there. But still, we got our good friend Jeff and Jeff. Start the show like we always do. Jeff, how was your week?
Oh, long, man. Long and bad. Rough. Started bad Sunday morning. Somebody hit my truck.
Come on. At your house?
Damaged it. Yeah, something like that. I'll tell you the whole thing off the air, but somebody damaged the back hatch and broke the back window.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So now,
is it in the shop getting fixed?
No, they wanted me to drop it off. What's today? I lost track all days because I've been working 6 days a week since Christmas.
Yeah. It's Thursday.
It's Thursday. Yeah, Thursday night with the show. But they wanted me to bring it in on Wednesday, but it didn't sound like they were going to have it ready for Friday. So I didn't want to have it there, Wednesday through maybe Monday or Tuesday. So I figured I'll just bring it on Monday, use it for the weekend.
Right.
And then this here way, I'll bring it in, on a Wednesday or Tuesday, Monday, and hopefully get it back Wednesday, Thursday, or whatever. So we'll see what happens.
That sucks, man. Well, I mean, as long as nobody was hurt and, you get it fixed to get it back, but it's never quite the same once your truck gets hit like that. Once your car gets hit, it's never quite the same anymore.
Well, at this time, it might not be so bad.
Oh,
to
yeah?
be honest with you. Yeah, because what happened is I'm getting a whole new door.
Okay.
And evidently I can't use the glass, and I'm getting all new emblems and everything else, which is not really a big deal, but it's going to be a brand new door. They got to paint it. Nothing was damaged other than the door. The dent on the door is maybe this big, but they got to replace the whole door.
Wow.
So it wasn't like it got crushed.
Yeah.
If it did, then you maybe like nobody's looking, go someplace where there's a tree and back into it a couple times. But I don't know what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe bend the frame a little bit, but that wasn't the case. But the reason I was in such a panic to get on
was
I had Chinese food and I got it stuck in the bottom here. It sucks. Excuse me.
On the GoFundMe page.
So, anyway, I heard what you were talking about setting up your GoFundMe page.
Yes, for my shoelace.
And the thing that nobody has mentioned so far, is that woman has been on the news and in the newspapers and on the computer, on websites and everything else.
Yep.
For the past week. Everybody knows who she is.
Yeah.
It does not matter what she did. Everybody knows who this woman is. And everybody is talking about this woman.
Agreed.
And if you think that it's over, something will happen. Something good is going to come her way. Until, of course, she's proven to be a crackhead or an ex-prostitute or something. Something is always going to come up. You know that.
Yeah.
And she's going to make something out of this. She's going to make some money out of this. You watch. She was just on my wife watches Entertainment Tonight or whatever it is. And she was just on because it took 4.5 hours to get all of that shit out of her hair. The stuff that they put in her hair, she would have been better off. I feel she would have been better off just shaving it and starting over again. It was like acetone and aloe vera and all of these chemicals.
But Jeff, good. Listen, what are you thinking about? Seriously, you ran out of hairspray, so you went to Gorilla Glue. I mean, did you think that was going to end well?
Well, listen, no, no, of course not.
You know what I mean? Let's be honest. What was she? I'd like to hear. I almost would like to hear her speak, so I can confirm the fact that she's probably half retarded.
Probably half retarded.
Yeah.
You used enough glue that it took them 4.5 hours to get it out of your hair. Now, you know what? In her defense.
Wait. In her what?
In her defense.
Wait. Say it again. You have a defense for this woman?
No.
Oh.
No, not at all.
Because you used the word defense.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
I know somebody. You met them too.
Okay.
I really don't want to divulge their name over the air.
Okay.
But we worked together. And one day we bet him to put some Gorilla Tape on his upper thigh.
Okay.
And we told him we had some Gorilla Glue. We put the Gorilla Glue on the Gorilla Tape.
Okay.
So he turned around and he says to me, I was like, wrap this around your thigh, and we'll let it sit for a little bit, and then we'll rip it off and we'll see what happens. I mean, like, this guy was good for doing stuff like this.
Right.
So he's like, all right, but fuck you. I'm going to spread the Gorilla Glue on the tape. So even I'm like, this isn't happening to me. And I'm like, I don't know if this is such a wise idea, but go ahead. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
Dude, he smeared it like the whole length of the tape that went around his whole entire thigh. Okay. Pushed it on. And we were just like, what are you doing? And he's like, fuck you. You're not going to put it all in one spot. And then it's going to be really hard to get off. No, you put it on the whole length of the tape. And it was really hard to get off.
Yeah.
It took him probably close to a week to get the Gorilla Glue off his fucking leg. And he had a hairy thigh, too.
Oh, my God. Can't even imagine what that must have felt like. Oh, my God.
He was not happy about it.
But Jeff, that was a dare. That was a stupid thing. This woman said, "All right, I have no hairspray. What can I use?" And she went, "Oh, Gorilla Glue." Like, this wasn't a prank. This wasn't the, I dare you. This was dumb. But
listen, there's no denying that it was probably one of the three dumbest things that could have ever happened in human history at this point in time.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, that's just ridiculous. But hey, guys, don't forget, you got the new shirts are in.
Let me see that.
There's the new shirts. I'll be dropping a couple off to you, Jeff, soon.
Oh man, that's nice. That looks good, dude. That looks really nice.
I want to, before we get to Will Cloak, who's hanging in there, and we're going to get to Jeff after that. We'll talk a lot of football the rest of the way. I want to get Jeff's take on a bunch of stuff. We're going to go quick. But I want to announce a couple things. First off, remember, every Wednesday night, our good friend John Mahefka and everybody at RFO Records, check out their new podcast, Talking the Fast Lane, which Jeff and I are a sponsor of. We were mentioned all over the show last night. So congrats to John and everybody. They did a spectacular job last night, him, Doug, and the whole crew. So congrats. Make sure you check them out on Wednesday nights. The announcement, I saw it on Facebook. He hasn't talked to me in a while, but here our good friend Joe Gansas is back with Around the Kit Sunday nights with I think a video show now.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, a video show.
Yeah, I saw the official announcement.
Yes,
that he made, but I did not know it was a video show.
I believe it's a video show, and I think Joe will be live streaming it. So good for Joe, and I guess Around the Kit's back, so good for Joe. I'm sure he'll do a great job. He always did. So I want to mention that, and again, before I forget, one more time, I want to send our condolences to our dear friend of the show, Dominic Ginter. He lost his mom 8 months to the day he lost his dad. So I wanted to send that little something to our little bobblehead, Dom Ginter.
How old was his mom? Do you know?
70s, late 70s, I think, mid 70s.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
Was there something wrong with her? Do you know?
Well, she was sick. She actually was I think she had COVID. She was in the hospital, and in the hospital they found out she had a very weak heart. And she eventually died of, I guess, the pressure of I won't speak for Dominic. He'll tell you, how his feelings are, but he wouldn't necessarily call it a COVID death. But his mom did pass away suddenly. And unfortunately, Dom hadn't seen her in a few months, and she'd moved to out to Texas. And Dom's shook up. So again, I wanted to make sure I wish anybody who knows the Ginters, who knew Pat, she was a wonderful lady and a super person to be around. And again, my condolences to Dom and Danny and his sister and the rest of the Ginter family from Jeff, myself, and the entire show.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, I used to hang out right up outside their house years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I knew Mrs. Ginter. I didn't know her personally, but I knew who she was, man.
Yeah.
And that's a shame. It really is a shame.
Yep. So again, I just want to reach out and send a little message out. Again, guys, we're back here. We're going to be off next week. I haven't told Jeff yet. I'm actually going on vacation next week. I'm getting out of town. Now, Jeff, I'll tell you how dumb I am. We're going to pick Will up in 2 seconds. I want to tell you how dumb I am. I should say how dumb I am. How I should be competing with the Gorilla Glue lady.
Well, I don't know about that. But
It's this cold right now, right? So I'm standing on the roof today, and yesterday, and me and my wife we're talking about let's go away. Where we want to go? I don't know. Maybe we go there. Maybe we go there. We're going to go to Pennsylvania next week.
Okay.
We're going to a colder place than I am already now, and I'm going to stand outside and freeze all day.
What are you doing? What are you going to
We're going to try to do a little skiing. We're going to try to do a little snow tubing, have some fun. But shouldn't I be like in Florida? That was my original hope. We'll fly to Florida, and then we'll go down to the Keys, and we'll take a ride over to Rock and Roll Ribs, and we'll go. And then it's just COVID in the way.
Well, you want my take on that?
Please, Jeff, please.
You could go to Florida whenever you want. Go down there, sweat your nuts off, and smell like a goat anytime you want. Anytime you want. Okay? But you're going to go to Pennsylvania with the old lady.
Yes.
Maybe you get a place that has a little fireplace, throw a log in the fire, throw a log in the old lady. You never know what's going to happen. Maybe there's going to be another, member of the Hard Rock and Sports team in 9 months. You don't know. Okay?
Good thought.
Chances are,
yeah,
the wife is not going to want you anywhere near her when there's temperatures are in the 90s.
Very possible.
Okay? So now this is your chance to slay the dragon.
Is this some snuggling time? Are you saying?
There you go. There you go.
Some snuggling time.
Quality nookie time.
There you go. Let's hope it all works out. But so the show will be off next week, and we'll be back on the 25th. And I am working on a surprise guest, big 70s sports star.
All right.
Can't tell you who it is, but I'm working on it. And a member of the Tulwinski clan is helping me. I won't give you any more details.
Oh, God, no.
Yes.
Would it happen to be Papa Tulwinski?
No, it's not Papa Tulwinski, but it is a member of the Tulwinski clan.
The reason I asked is because there is
Uh-huh.
a 1970s baseball player that lives in their area that my father says that he's seen a couple times.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I don't want to divulge that, but I figured that knowing Dad,
Nope.
he'd have no problem just going over to him like, "Oh, excuse me, you over here, come here. How about you go on this show where my son and his friend are?"
That would be terrific. But no, it is not that son. It is not that member of the Tulwinski family. But I'll give you some more details off the air. But let's get to Will Cloak. We're going to bring our good friend Will Cloak on and talk about 1991, Jeff. Yeah, maybe we'll even get to a little bit of the Iron Maiden finally nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
It means nothing.
I agree with you. I want to get. We're going to open up with that, and then we'll get to 1991. But let's welcome on.
What's up, guys? How we doing?
How you doing, Will? How you feeling?
What's up,
All right,
Will?
Jeff. I like how you guys promoted Gorilla Glue here. It's going to be selling like hotcakes.
Well, let's see if we get any checks in the mail, Will.
I know. I mean, remember the Rambo knife? The survival knife was big with the Rambo movie. I can see now Gorilla Glue is going to be the big sale.
Oh, wow, that's the dumbest thing ever, boy.
We need to tread carefully here because this could fall off the edge at any fucking second. You understand? I'm not going to get into the fucking. We're all from the same neighborhood. We know which way this can go.
Yes. Okay, well, one thing you guys got to admit, you guys remember the 80s, the smell of that nasty Aquanet, especially in the summertime when the girls had, the big hair and everything. Well, the guys did too. And that stuff had glue in it because people were like complaining how they couldn't get that shit out of their hair back in them days.
When you
I don't know.
used a can at a sitting on your fucking head, of course it wasn't going to come out. You know what I mean?
Holy shit. Who the hell uses that shit?
I would absolutely tell you, I never used hairspray in my entire life.
Neither have I.
Were you guys ever a hairspray guy?
Okay.
No.
Will, were you ever a hairspray guy?
Yeah, I was a little dippy do,
Okay.
All right, not now. Now I really just go just as I am, just
Yes.
I get up in the morning and that's it.
I agree with all the hats I wear all day long. I don't necessarily.
Yeah, wasn't entering any beauty contest then. I ain't entering any now.
Yeah, so let's talk about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame real quick. So I'm going to go first because I am the biggest
Maiden fan.
Not even that. Yes, I am a big Maiden fan, but I am the biggest. I don't care about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame anymore. I'm tired of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But I got to tell you the truth. I was excited when I saw that Maiden's finally on the ballot, along with, I think, Tina Turner, who I was surprised wasn't in there already.
Yeah, no, me too. That I was shocked. I know she's in there with Ike, but no, she's not in there as a solo artist, which I was kind of shocked too. I was like, wow.
Was very surprised by the people going in, Jeff. I was shocked that Tina Turner wasn't already in.
You know what I'm shocked about, to be honest with you? Is that how people that are not really classified as rock and roll acts are just fucking getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Yeah, it's
walking the fuck in. Now, I don't have a problem with Tina Turner because, like you said, her and Ike, they put out some rock and roll type.
She's been around a long time. She's been around a long time.
Exactly.
Since the 50s.
But was Tina Turner a rock and roll star?
No,
not at all. More of a disco star or R&B star. Right?
Yeah, the rest
R&B, pop. She played pop music.
Here's the rest of the nominees, which is Jay-Z, which Jay-Z's getting in.
He shouldn't be there.
I agree with you. Tina Turner, the Foo Fighters, who I'm not a huge fan of. That's
they've done their thing. You got to give them, like them or hate them. You got to give them their. You got to give them their props. Okay.
Yes, but you know something? Let's real quick on each one for everybody. Sure. The Foo Fighters. Okay. They haven't been around as long as some of the other acts that you already mentioned.
Yep.
Do they really deserve to get into any kind of Hall of Fame?
They got to be
Think
at least
about that.
25. No, I agree.
25. You got to have 25 years.
Yeah, so it's got to be. They got to be around that long.
Well, is he riding? Are they riding on Nirvana's coattails on this one?
No. The first Foo Fighters album, Grohl played all the instruments on. It came out in '95. So actually, Jeff, that is actually 25, 26 years ago. So
I still don't think that they deserve to get in.
I'm not disagreeing.
I hear you.
Yeah, and then the last three acts after Iron Maiden is three female acts. One is Dionne Warwick. I don't understand. Mary J. Blige and the Go-Go's. So,
Well, you know what? Listen, Dionne Warwick, another one that was instrumental
He's been
in
around a
the
long time.
60s and 70s, long time artist, without a doubt. The Go-Go's, who were a rock and roll band back in the late 70s, early 80s. I could consider them a girls' rock band. I could see how maybe they get in. But Mary J. Blige, she's R&B and I don't want to say rap or hip hop, but she's definitely not rock.
now,
R&B singer.
those are the favorites to get in. The list also includes Kate Bush. I don't know who she is.
She's an old.
She's
a singer.
She's a British singer she knew Pink Floyd's David Gilmour. She was
She's
signed
been around for about 40 years, no?
Yeah, she's been around, but she's known for not touring. She's only done one tour in her life.
Really?
And like Jimmy Page did on his page, she did like 2 weeks in a Hammersmith not too long ago.
All right. Well, then you got Chaka Khan, who's been on the list forever. Can't seem to get in.
She's been around a long time. She's been around really, really long time.
LL Cool J is nominated. I'm this list up on the air.
I don't know what he really contributed to music, but
yeah, I mean, let me say put the list up so you guys could see it easier than me telling you. Let's see. Todd Rundgren, not a huge fan, but
but he was a big producer. He produced Grand Funk Railroad albums, as well as his own stuff. Yeah, he's been around. He's been around a long time.
Let's see. I don't know if you guys could see that easily, but Rage Against the Machine. I don't know how Rage Against the Machine gets in there and Iron Maiden doesn't.
Every song Rage Against the Machine does sounds the same.
Here's one I thought might have a chance. The New York Dolls. I'm not a huge fan, but those guys were innovative. They've been around. They were around forever.
Yeah, they inspired bands like Guns N' Roses. They
should be in. They should be in.
Yeah,
but Jeff's got a point. They were an influence on a lot of people.
And then Devo. I know Devo was around a long time ago, but did Devo last 25 years of this?
No, they had one song. With Big Good.
Devo was around back in the late 70s to the early 80s.
Yeah.
But also the two guys that were in there, Mothersbaugh is their last name. Mm-hmm. They did all of the music for the Rugrats, the cartoon, the Rugrats.
Yeah.
So they're still actually relevant in music today. It's for a kids cartoon, and actually the Rugrats isn't even on TV anymore, as far as I know. But they weren't with Devo, but they were making all of the music for the cartoon, the Rugrats. So they were still involved in music.
I got you. I don't know if that puts Devo in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but so I'm saying out of that list, I'm going to tell you that I think Foo Fighters, I think Jay-Z, New York Dolls, Tina Turner are guarantees to get in.
No,
I just hope Maiden doesn't get the slap. Hey, Black Sabbath did. Black Sabbath got the slap for 10 years. Ozzy's not even in there as a solo artist. And he's been a solo artist since 1980. 41 years.
Yeah.
So it's going to be strange.
Now, here's the thing. I'm going to be a hypocrite and tell you that I will be psyched. I might even think about going to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to see Maiden. I know they don't go there. They do it. They used to do it in New York. I don't know if they still do. But
I think it's going to be in Cleveland.
Yeah, I would be pumped for Maiden to get in. Now, I'm a hypocrite because I've been blasting the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for years. But
all right, we all have. I don't care for them neither.
Yeah, Jeff. I mean, would that get you excited? Again, it's been past the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for a long time. But were you getting excited if Maiden gets to perform at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
No, because I think it's a fucking sham, man. It really is. I think that this all could be avoided if they just said, instead of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, just straight out call it the Music Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
and everything would be
absolutely,
good.
Jeff. I've always said that myself. I mean, because not every band's playing rock and roll. Some people are playing rap. Some people are doing poetry, like Patti Smith. She was a poet. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Jim Morrison. I don't know what the hell he was. I was not even a big Doors fan. People were like, oh, Jim. I was like, Jim was washed up. I didn't care for his music. I didn't care for his lyrics.
I hate the Doors. Oh my God.
Oh, what a passion.
Oh, with two passions. I can't stand them. But hey, Hard Rock and Sports here. Jeff Tom and our good friend Will Cloak. We're about to talk about some great music from the 1990s, and we're going to we'll hopefully do this occasionally when Will's got the time. We'll come out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm COVID recovering right now. Yeah, I got diagnosed with COVID last week. I had no symptoms though.
Oh, good for you. Good for you.
You know, I'm very fortunate. A lot of other people I know really, you know, had tough times. Some people I know are still struggling. And unfortunately, other people we know passed away. So pretty sad. And my condolences to Dominic and his family. You know,
we'll make sure he gets to hear that. But
Yeah,
let's talk about 1991 a little bit now. I'm going to give you guys a few events that happened in the year 1991 before we get to some of the to some of the albums. Let's see. Poison fires CeCe DeVille.
Queen, that was a good move.
Queen releases Innuendo.
Yeah, that was sad. Freddie's last.
Yep, Freddie Mercury dies November 24th of 8.
That's correct.
Steve Clark, Def Leppard guitarist, he dies on January 8th.
Addiction.
It says dies of due to
overdose,
compression of the brainstem from excessive alcohol. And
other things. He was. I saw a thing on him. He was pretty bad. He used to try to break his hands before the first gig, like Joe Elliott said, because he was always so nervous.
But it says compression of the brainstem, so that means his head was like this. I don't understand that, but excessive alcohol mixed with antidepressants and painkillers as a result of a rib injury. I got a feeling Steve had nothing to do with a rib injury.
No, he had to be seeing Elvis's. He was probably seeing the same doctor Elvis was seeing.
Yeah, Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody goes to #1 in the UK for the second time. Kiss drummer Eric Carr dies at age 41.
Yeah, better drummer than Peter Criss.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. I mean, I love Peter Criss, don't get me wrong, but Eric Carr was a phenomenal drummer.
Yeah, he really was.
Metallica releases the Black Album.
Their Doom album.
Europe released his Prisoners in Paradise, and
never heard it.
Yep, sure. And Extreme's hit single "More Than Words" reaches #1 in the United States. So God! Let's talk about the big albums. I'm going to put them up on the screen here.
Okay.
So let me. Well, I'm going to turn it over to you a little bit here and let you kind of lead the charge. You can bring up whatever albums you'd like to bring up, or talk about whatever you.
All right. Okay. You think 1991 is when the music, like, you know, later in 1991 was when I noticed the music was starting to change. You know, Guns had the Use Your Illusion albums out, which that was pretty popular. Metallica had the Black Album. The downside of the Black Album was now everybody liked Metallica. Everybody's mom and dad liked Metallica, and it was like no longer a scary band, Jeff. Remember?
Yeah, but you know what, dude? I feel as though that Metallica, a lot of people say shit about them, but you know what? They were already a big band at that time anyway.
No, they were. They really were.
That tour with Ozzy and the Master of Puppets album put them over the edge. Everybody knew who they were. So they put out a song with a radio-friendly hit. What's the big deal? Slayer plays the Garden all over the place. So used to play the Garden.
It made them a lot of money, and I did see them on that tour, and they were very good.
And I will say this much, though. They did. That's when they started to act like douchebags. They were dressing with the fancy clothes now. And you know what I mean? That ruined them. Their attitude.
That was the reload, the load era. That was
no. It was during the Black Album. Lars Ulrich came out with the blazer on, with no shirt on, and the sleeves rolled up. I'll never forget that. The only one that was semi-cool at that time was James Hetfield, and even he ended up turning into a dick. So I would say that it definitely went to their head and made them bigger than what they were.
Now listen. Now the Black Album is not my favorite album, but I'll say that I don't think the Black Album is a terrible album. I think there's some good. I think there's some good stuff there. It's not the better stuff I liked in the mid and later in the 80s. That I mean, I love Ride the Lightning and some of that stuff better.
Oh yeah.
I don't find the Black Album to be a bad album. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but I think it's
not a bad album. It's a very good album.
It's not a bad album. I just think the mistake that they made was when 5 years later, when they went to do their next studio album, I think that they should have probably took Rick Rubin like they did later with the Death Magnetic album and the Hardwire, which I thought was really two good albums. But it did kind of take the older fans like us time to get back into them, because I felt that they didn't know where to go after that, and they kind of stayed in that direction with the load and the reload. It really wasn't anything. I saw them. That matter of fact, that was the last time I ever saw them live, and I was not impressed. In 1997, that was the last. Yeah. So
those albums were very different than anything they put out before. That's what was the cherry on the cake. The first album, the Black Album, there was a lot of good songs, heavy songs. It was a good tour. I saw them a couple times on that tour. But
yeah, me too.
It was the people said, oh, they sold out because they cut their hair. They sold out because they made a hit song and it was on the radio.
No.
Hey, listen, yeah, that's what people was. I remember.
Yeah, no, I didn't say that, but I just think they didn't know where to go. They say they should have Bob Rock for one album should have been good enough. They should have got rid of Bob Rock after that album.
See, the thing is, I think that's more of a metal album, not a thrash album for me. I think
which album?
The Black Album. Like, I don't consider it a thrash album. Yeah, I don't think it's
it's not thrash.
That's what I'm saying. So to me, it was their first metal. Now to me, everything after that is questionable for me. I'm not a big fan of anything coming after that. Hardwired I liked, but it's one of those albums I listened to it once or twice and I went, okay, I'm done with it.
I never listened to that album.
Yeah, it's not memorable. It's got some good stuff on it, and it's a really good attempt. Well, it's a really good attempt to go back to the early days. It's just doesn't have. It's like if you listen to the last few Kiss albums, they're not bad. It just there's nothing, no hook. There's nothing that says, "Hey, I want to listen to that song again. I want to hear that song again."
Well, Kiss albums, Tommy, Kiss should be embarrassed because number one, when they put out Psycho Circus, they put out the 4 original members, and the 4 original members only played on one track.
Correct.
That's and they offered Ace Frehley and Peter Criss $1 million each just to say that they won the record. That's embarrassing.
It is embarrassing.
That's
embarrassing. But it was also, what number album was that for Kiss? They put out almost 40 albums.
Yeah, that was back in.
I'm not sure.
So I mean, after a while, guess what? These guys are going to lose ideas. That's all there is to it.
No,
they're not going to have the same passion to write.
Well,
it's impossible.
But then you know what? Then just go be the Rolling Stones and just go on tour every year.
Tom, once again, you're talking about a band that put out air guitar strings. Keep that in mind. Do you think you're going to stop them from putting out an album if they put out air guitar strings?
I got you. All right, so let's talk about it. I don't know if anybody did any more research than I did. I went through the list of albums that came out that year, and I tried to come up with the one that to me was, here's I think the album that came out that year was probably the most underrated is Badlands Voodoo Highway.
I never even heard it. I didn't even know Badlands was. I never heard it. I got to check it out.
Badlands is absolutely.
You're never going to find it, Will.
Yeah, it's impossible to find out.
Impossible to find. Matter of fact, it's so impossible to find. I could promise you, unless you know somebody that has it, you're never going to find it.
Yeah,
the old bootleg stores ain't around anymore.
It's Jake E. Lee and what's the singer's name?
Ray Gillen.
Ray Gillen.
He's deceased now. He's been deceased for quite a long time now.
What a great album. Jeff, would you agree that's a really good album that nobody really ever listened to?
Yeah, well, they did make a little wave for themselves back in the early 90s, and they were good band. Greg Chiasson was the bass player. Eric Singer, I believe, was the drummer.
Great drummer.
Yes, you're right.
Hell, first time I saw Ozzy was with Jake.
Matter of fact, the problem with Badlands for a lot of people is a lot of people were expecting Jakey Lee to be the same guitar player he was with Ozzy. And he wasn't. He was playing a lot of bluesy stuff with these guys. It was all bluesy stuff. Bluesy, whiskey, drenched shit, like, you know what I mean?
Well, I know a guy that met Jake, and he said Jake was a really nice guy, and he said Ozzy's a scumbag. They say Ozzy and Sharon really fucked him over.
Well, I think I think it's more Sharon that fucked him over.
Well, yeah, well, Sharon. Carmine Appice, he said that in his book. He said you got to love the lies that lady makes.
Yeah, he was on with us a couple times, and he made it very clear he didn't like Sharon very much. So
no, he said he loved Ozzy. He said I met Ozzy in 1970 since the bands, both Black Sabbath and Cactus, almost got into a brawl over who stole whose hash. He said, but I got along well with Ozzy, and I met up with Ozzy right after all of that. He goes in, Ozzy said, hey, the problem with the missus, not me. And he says, I always got along well with Ozzy. I just can't stand Sharon. Understandable.
Now, Jeff.
I'm looking at that. Pull that list down. I want to see it in the A's, please. I'm just curious. Was Alice in Chains listed on there?
No, Alice in Chains is not.
I think theirs came out in 91. No, wait. Was it 91 or 92?
Dirt came 91. Dirt came out in 92. So Facelift might have come out in 90. But what about, is Pantera on there?
No.
Maybe
no, Pantera in 92 is older. And 90.
Nope, no, Jeff. No Pantera.
No.
Temple of the Dog came out, Jeff.
What?
Temple of the Dog came out that year, but it was a sleeper. It was a sleeper till everybody caught on the Pearl Jam.
Was it listed on there?
Yeah,
it's not even listed. Oh, yeah, there it is. Temple of the Dog.
Yep. It was a sleeper. It was called a sleeper because when it had come out, like if I saw Soundgarden open up for Guns N' Roses when you had to wait 3 years to see Axl Rose finally show up at the Garden, December of 91. And right after that, Pearl Jam, their popularity started to rise up in about the mid-1992, and then people caught on to the Temple of the Dog album. I actually caught on Temple of the Dog from actually the Singles soundtrack. Singles, I saw the movie Singles, and I really like Temple of the Dog. You got me into that album in a lot of ways, Jeff. It was really a good classic record, man. Yeah, it really was.
Here's another good one, Jeff. Is Macaulay Schenker Group? That's a good album.
Oh, Michael Schenker.
Yeah.
Metal Church, The Human Factor.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a good one.
God. Yeah. My God, Metal Church.
Now you got
Mr. Big.
Yeah, I don't know about I don't know about Horoscope Overkill, Jeff. Is that
Yeah, that was the first album without Bobby Gustafson, and the first album with 2 guitar players on it.
Now you said you liked that album, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, it's a good album. It's a good album. There's some heavy songs.
Now Ozzy's No More Tears. I'm not a huge fan. But
that album, you know what's something about that? Ozzy, well, I could say one thing. I mean, it's over with Ozzy for now. Musically, it's been over, I think, since Osmosis. But at that time when people were, because I remember Jeff's brother Greg saying to me back in the 80s, he's like, well, Ozzy's turning 40 now. We should hang it up. And Ozzy he just threw a curveball at everybody and put out a great album. No More Tears, I thought was really a good album.
Let's see. Van Halen's For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge came out in 1991.
I actually, people hate me for this. Tony Gunn does. A lot of people do, but I actually like them better with Sammy than I do with Dave for some weird reason. I like the first album with Dave, but Dave's songs after that, I don't know. Dave was too much. I thought Sammy was more of a musician, just my point of view.
I was very disappointed in that. I know Jeff and I have talked about this on the air before. I was very disappointed in that whole matchup because when that went down, I hated Dave back in the 80s. I don't know why. I just despised him. And when he left or he got fired, whatever it was, and they announced, I will never forget, I was at work. It was like September of 1985. Young kid working and nude up for Grilly Brothers HVAC. And we were listening to, I think, PLJ or one of those channels, and they announced that Sammy was joining. I thought it was going to be the greatest thing ever. And I have to tell you, it's one of the worst concerts I ever went to was Van Halen with Sammy, and I couldn't be more disappointed. Now, listen, they probably had more popularity because their songs were number ones and all over the
more radio friendly. Like in that area, they were more acceptable to an audience.
I saw them in 95 or 96 or something with I don't even know who. And I couldn't wait to leave, other than to see Eddie play, and he was a shell of himself that night. So.
Yeah, well, that was my experience of Van Halen. I saw Van Halen, the Monsters of Rock. They were terrible. Everybody walked out of Giant Stadium talking about Metallica and the Scorpions. And then I saw Van Halen with Vince Neil and it was pouring rain in Jones Beach in 93. I got to admit that show was really good. I really enjoyed the show. I saw them with David Lee Roth in 2008 with Darren Magris. We left midway through the show. The crowd sounded like a funeral. It was terrible.
Yeah.
It was horrible. I mean, the Van Halen brothers wanted the money, but David Lee Roth just was terrible. Horrible. And Michael Anthony missing, horrible.
A great album on that list that nobody's mentioned so far, Armored Saint. That had an album out.
Yeah.
Symbol of Salvation. That was the first album without Dave Pritchard, who I believe died the year before, early in '91, of leukemia. But that was a good album.
Wow.
Some interesting bands on here. Bullet Boys.
Bullet Boys.
Yeah.
I think we all got crushed out in the so-claimed grunge movement alternative. I still don't understand that. Pearl Jam is not, Soundgarden was a rock band.
Psycho Sluts from Hell, which actually
never heard that one.
Bobby Gustafson
was in that band.
And played on that album and was with them, touring with them for a while.
Alice Cooper, Hey Stupid. That's
I remember when that came out.
Man's a legend.
Yeah, Saxon. Saxon's got more albums. It's the funniest thing about Saxon. I think Jeff said the same thing as I did. We went to see them a few years back with UFO.
Yeah,
they were great. Don't get me wrong. They were really good. But what I realized was there was like 4 songs I actually liked. They have like 700 albums. And Jeff, am I wrong about that?
No, and all their songs sounded alike too.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I love Denim and Leather. I love Princess of the Night. They got there's about 4 songs I really love, and then I go, what happened?
Yeah,
it's just
I tell you right now, there's another song, Soundgarden. Will, you mentioned them? Bad Motorfinger, possibly their best album that they ever put out.
That was a really, really good album. I remember when, sometimes I'm guilty of MTV also, but when I had first heard that album, I went right out to the old music center in Newdorf and I bought it. And
had to. That was a great, great, great album, man. The only thing that would remotely touched it from them was, what was that? The next
Down
one,
on the Upside?
No,
Super Unknown. Super Unknown was a really good album. Really good. Actually, I saw them on that tour with Neil Young.
It wasn't as heavy as Bad Motorfinger, but Super Unknown had some great album, great songs. But I would have to give the nod to Super Unknown. Not Super Unknown. Bad Motorfinger. I'm sorry.
Bad Motorfinger is a really good album. That's a really, really good album.
Okay, so again, Hard Rocket Sports, Jeff and Tom here, like we always are, with our good friend Will Cloak, talking 1991. To me, guys, this is we said it before. This is the transition. I know you say, Will, that Soundgarden and some of those bands are mislabeled. There's a lot of bands that are mislabeled through the years. They get caught in.
Yeah.
Def Leppard was thought of as a metal band, and they were never a metal.
And they weren't. And Def Leppard was not even.
Maybe On Through the Night. Maybe On Through the Night could be considered a metal album because
if you think about the state of metal when On Through the Night came out, On Through the Night was a metal album.
Yes, I agree.
Afterwards,
my brother Joey loved. I remember I bought him the cassette for Christmas. I remember he wanted in the 80s. He liked that album.
Still one of my favorite albums of all time. I constantly, to this day, will go and listen to that album all the time. I won't say a great album. I'll say it's a good album that nobody listens to anymore, or very few people listen to anymore.
How about there's 2 albums on here that I see right off the bat that I got to mention. Vinnie Moore, Meltdown.
Okay,
that was a bit of an underrated album. Vinnie Moore had put out nothing but instrumental stuff, and he kind of fell by the wayside. But he was one of those virtuosos like Yngwie and the rest of those speed metal guys.
Like Gary Moore. They said Gary Moore never drew a dime in the States, but he was big overseas.
Vinnie
Moore was completely different. But not Megadeth. I'm sorry. Nirvana is on that list. Nobody's mentioned Nirvana.
Nevermind came out.
I did it on purpose because I hate Nirvana.
I
don't disagree with people, but I remember when I first heard, Smells Like Teen Spirit, I was like, this. I never got into the band. I'm being honest. Songs, I think some songs are good. One thing I'm going to say about that whole grunge era was the only one that's left alive is Eddie Vedder. Chris Cornell's dead. Kurt Cobain, Lane Stanley. All of them guys are dead. They all fucking died from fucking overdoses. How fucking crazy is that? I mean, they all bought heroin with them.
Is that stuff really good, or was it just different?
It was different. It was at that time, like even Peter Frampton had said this. He said at that time they probably needed a fresh air in music because in the late 80s, like 1990, you didn't have anything that good. You know, you had Cinderella. I mean, I wasn't listening to none of that.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, I never picked up on the let's call it ham metal stuff.
Yeah, I got you.
Like now I go back and I listen. I've learned to like stuff like Kix and some of those bands that I didn't pay attention to when they first came out. But I just never, I still to this day, I just don't get that whole era of music of, you know, there's some Alice in Chains I'll listen to, you know, but I mean, to me, like,
Alice in Chains actually was good.
No,
when you really think about it, that band now was a tribute band, Tommy. That's once Stanley died, that band was dead.
But I mean, were they really?
You can't be any more wrong than that, man. You're not listening to the album. Listen to Rainier Fog and tell me that's not a great album. It's one of the best Alice in Chains albums they ever put out. Completely different than what you used to. You got to listen to it with an open mind. Great album.
Right. I'll check it out,
Great
Jeff.
album.
Yeah, again, I just listen. I don't put for some reason Alice in Chains and Pearl Jam or Nirvana in the same category. It just sounds different to me. I don't get it, but I don't get all of that music. It just, to me, it's just like it just has a weird vibe to it, and I don't like that.
It was a very dark period for them. Those guys, you know, they all very Alice in Chains, very dark. Soundgarden, very dark. You know, Pearl Jam, I don't know, kind of, what would you say, more like a rock and roll type of band, like Neil Young.
You know, yeah. You know what's something, right? Like we were saying, it's like Tommy just said, you didn't understand Homer. Some of it I don't understand neither, because I remember reading Slash's book from Guns N' Roses, and he did mention this about Soundgarden. He said when they toured with us, they didn't want to know about anything. He said, but at the same time, you know, they have this way where they got to stay away from you because you're like a poser or whatever that shit was called. He said, but at the same time, I don't ever recall you turning the gig down either. You know, you still took the gig. You know,
Soundgarden.
Yeah, he said. Yeah, he said, but you still took the gig. You could have turned the gig down. You still took it.
Well, I would fucking tour with Guns N' Roses too, but you know what? Look at the reputation they had at the time. Because
it was disgusting. It was terrible.
So why would you want to hang out with them? They were bringing people
I saw
down.
Guns N' Roses December 13th, 1991. My older brother Joey gave me tickets for Christmas was coming up, and I went to the show. And I'll never forget, we waited about 2.5, 3 hours for Axl Rose to show up. He showed up 10:30 at night. So I was actually early for him. And you know, you just didn't know what mood he was in. And the show was good and all, but his little rants between songs got boring. And I never saw them. And after that, I mean, I didn't see him until they got back to the reunion. But the following year when they had toured with Metallica, people were like, you going to the stadium shows, Will? And Will even, I said, nope. And you know why? I'm glad I didn't, because it was terrible. It was horrible. And how much money, Jeff, they wasted. Because after 11 o'clock, it's my friend worked for Madison Square Garden. He was an engineer. He said, after 11 o'clock, it's all triple time. It's all triple time.
Listen, dude, they didn't give a fuck. Let me ask you, listen to this question and then give me your answer. Okay?
Sure.
Guns N' Roses doesn't pull their shit and their shenanigans, what they did. Tell me they're not the next Rolling Stones.
They really could have been. They really, really could have been.
But
absolutely.
Again, yeah, I agree. But you know, to me, to me, that album, you know, Appetite is one of the best albums of all time. I'll give it its props. But after that, give me the next great album that they did.
I mean, Use Your Illusions actually could have been one album.
Yes, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. They could have made one really good album out of that and followed it up. You know, but they were the darlings of MTV. They put out their acoustic album. They made sure that they put out these two albums, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. Axl with his bullshit and everything else, going home in the middle of the state. They could have been the greatest rock and roll band, not metal band, rock and roll band.
Said that. A lot of people said that. I read Duff McKinnon's book. I read Slash's book. These guys, when that tour was over, when they went back in the studio, once Izzy Stradlin was at it, because they said Izzy was basically the only one who could reach him. You know, Izzy Stradlin was the only one who could reach Axl Rose because they wrote the songs together. They did the lyrics and everything.
You want to know something, dude? I mean, Steven Adler's a shell of himself.
Yeah.
But Axl and Slash and Duff McKagan, they're still out there playing together at this point in time.
Oh, no, I saw them years ago. They were great. I saw them in Giant Stadium with Lenny Kravitz. I actually enjoyed the show.
I just saw them a couple years ago. A friend of mine had tickets, and I went with him. And they were all right. Axl Rose said 2 words. That was it, between songs. Never said anything between songs. He said something between songs once, said what he had to say, and that was it. They just played nonstop.
And that was the whole idea. That's what people want to hear.
Yeah, dude, it was a long, boring show. Very long, very boring, because there was nothing in between. They just went from one song to another. It was like putting your phone on shuffle. And after a while, it's like, just say something between songs, please.
Hey, Hard Rockin' Sports, Jeff and Tom hanging out with our good friend Will Cloak. We're talking 1991 and albums and some of the events that took place, and a little bit of a roundtable here on what's going on. Again, guys, we're here every Thursday night, 7 to 9:30 or so. And, of course, I told you 3 times already today, make sure on Wednesday nights you tune in to Talking the Fast Lane with our good friends over at RFL Records. I listened to last night's show. Jeff Westlake, the boys from Corners of Sanctuary, who will, if you get a chance, Google or go to YouTube and check out Corners of Sanctuary.
Will do.
Great. Yeah, they sound.
Let me write that down.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you'll enjoy it. I got to see those guys. We've interviewed Mick on the show, and who else was on there last night? Sammy from Red Rain. Oh, I love Red Rain, and Sammy's a good guy, big man, big Van Halen fan. But anyway, guys, every Thursday night, John and everybody over at RFL, they get together and they talk music. So if you want to hear some great music about their bands and rock in general, and then mix in a little sports, you make sure you find RFL Records. Talking the Fast Lane every Wednesday night, 7 to 9 o'clock. You won't be. And then we're a sponsor. We were mentioned all over the show last night, Jeff and I. So thanks to John and everybody over there.
I just popped in for a little bit, but I was so tired from work and shit.
I saw you. I saw you're up there. Yeah, I got to be able to stay through most of the show. I had to. I was working on our show, and I had them up on the screen, so I was listening in. And
dude, I've worked a possible 42 or 49 days, plus an additional over 100 hours overtime since Christmas.
God damn, Jeff, what the hell are you doing? Rewire in New York?
My boss is out sick. My other boss was out sick for a month. I was the only supervisor there. Yeah. And now my one boss came back and he's being a fucking wiener and just a fucking peckhead. I ended up screaming at him the other day and he's like, "Don't you yell at me." I'm like, "Don't you yell at me." And I was screaming at him.
Don't we just love city and federal jobs and state jobs? We can do that.
Yeah, well, you know what? Listen, everything ran smooth for a month when you weren't there. Don't come back and start fucking that shit up, you know?
Well, there was a guy, guys. There was a guy that I used to sail with, and he works for the Staten Island Ferry now. He's in the engineering department. He said, actually, Cloak, he goes, "I didn't know your brother Mike worked over." I said, "Yeah." And he lives over, he's not familiar. He's from Boston, but he's not familiar with the island. And he is now. But he lives on Victory and Bay, and he's like, "It's nuts over here." I said, "Yeah, you're right in the middle of freaking Needle Park." I was like, and he's like, he said he's staying a few more months, and he said that's it. He saved up he's been there for a few years. He saved up all of his money, and he's going to nursing school. He's moving back to Virginia. He said he doesn't like it.
I know you don't get a chance to come to the island often, but did you remember the park house in the middle of Tompkinsville Park?
Yeah, sure I do.
They knocked it down because of the junkies over there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible.
They removed the park house. That park house and that park was built in the 20s. I think it was 1925 it was built in. They pissed on the doors so much that the granite on the sides of the door wore away.
Wow.
The granite was gone.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
Yeah. Oh, look. I see a band. Is that Ass Fuck or Asuk? Up at the
Never
top.
heard of that.
Asuk, Jeff. Asuk.
I see Ass Fuck. Maybe I need better glasses. But
hey, so let me get you guys real quick. Give me your top 5 of albums from 1991. Give me your top 5, Will, for 1991.
I'd say okay, not in order. I would say Pearl Jam's 10, Temple of the Dog. I like the Guns N' Roses, Use Your Illusion. I thought it could have been one album, so that's going to be 2. And I'll go Metallica's Black Album.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Wait. I'm sorry. Soundgarden's Bad Motorfinger. I got to put that in there.
No problem, Jeff. You want to give me 5 on this list that you would say?
I gotta agree with Will. I mean, it's kind of, there's a lot of albums that came out, but there's not many that I'd really say that I'd like, other than Temple of the Dog, Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, the Black Album from Metallica, maybe a Metal Church, The Human Factor. That was a good one. Badlands was a good one. You know, David Lee Roth, A Little Ain't Enough. There was some good albums, but I those would be the ones that I would pick. But Temple of the Dog would probably be my favorite out of all of them.
Nobody any love for Rush. Roll the Bones. No love.
Not really. I kind of lost interest in Rush's studio albums. I would say maybe after Power Windows. You know, I mean, I love Rush, but I mean, studio albums. I don't know. It's like Maiden. My last good studio Maiden album had to be, I thought, was Power Slave. I didn't care for Somewhere in Time, and really, people said Seventh Son, but I never really heard it. Some songs, that's about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to bring this to a close. Will, we thank you for coming on and spending some time with us and going over the albums. And anytime you want to do this, let me know in advance.
Absolutely. I'll find another topic, Tommy. You know that. It's always great talking with you guys. I used to walk past you guys in Jeff's old house and everything, and your old house, and definitely the Kansas household. And that's how I got into a lot of bands like Iron Maiden and stuff. And I say that to people when I used to see everybody's cool T-shirts and then hear the music going. And
you see that block now, Will. You wouldn't even recognize that block anymore.
I'm probably scared to walk that block.
No, it's unfortunately it's not what it once was, and not because it's bad, but just because it's nasty.
Staten Island, my experiences just doesn't really have like the homey feeling it had growing up as a kid. I just felt, you know, everything now is a parking lot compared to everybody just lived simple back then. You had what you had and that's it, you know. And, you know, we were blessed. I would say we were blessed to grow up around all of those values, but that's something that flies by the wayside today with people.
Yeah.
It really does.
Very true. Well, very
100%.
true. We talk about that all the time here in the show, but Will, we hope you get better soon. Back to work. And I will be sending out your shirt this weekend, so you'll get your shirt at some point.
That's so cool, Tom. Thanks so much, guys. It was a great topic, and anytime, brothers. Love you guys, man. Take care.
Will, love you too.
Got it, Will. Be careful.
We'll talk to
you soon. Be safe.
Will Cloak, everybody. That's Will. It's good job, Jeff. That was fun. Something different.
Yeah, listen, it's always fun to reconnect with guys from the old neighborhood, man. Guys that we know for 1,000 years.
You know, Will, he's knowledgeable. The guy knows his stuff. Like, you know, he's not a fake. He's not a poser.
He's a musical savant.
Yes, he is. He rattles stuff off, boy. I gotta tell you. So, listen, Jeff. It's 9:00. You good still? I know you're tired.
Dude, we need to talk Super Bowl. We need to talk about the Super Bowl. My God! Before we go any further,
go ahead.
I must say this.
Go ahead.
Okay?
Go ahead.
It's not about Brady. It's not about the Buccaneers. It's not about Mahomes. It's not about the Chiefs. It's not even about the Jets. But the New York Giants, Daniel Jones and Dave Gettleman suck.
Very easy.
They suck. They're awful. What do you got? Oh, God. Why do I got to fucking want to? Now, I'm going to say something.
Go ahead.
Okay? And I think that this is important. One, this game was a misrepresentation of the Kansas City Chiefs. They never got going.
Correct.
They never got going. And I think it was the Chiefs never gotten going more so than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense was impressive.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt.
Yes.
Okay. It was impressive defense.
Yep.
But I think it was the inability of the Chiefs to get anything going. I think that they called a lot of, I mean, like right there, that defense, that Chiefs defense, they were standing there watching the guy he fucking sauntered in. You know what I mean? And it was just a little disgusting that there was so many calls against that Kansas City defense.
Oh, I don't know.
There was one. There was a lot of calls against them.
Yes.
There was one call in particular that I thought was bullshit. It was on a long pass. The guy from Kansas City fell. He had his hand on his back.
Yeah.
It went down to his waist.
Correct.
The ball was still a couple feet ahead of the Buccaneers
Correct.
receiver, and they called it pass interference.
Correct.
I thought that was a total bullshit call.
Well, listen, I'm going to say I agree, but I understand the call. He did knock him down. I thought he didn't have a chance to catch it. The one I thought was worse was the one in the end zone for Tyrann Mathieu. That was the one right before the half. There was like 13 seconds left or 14 seconds left. And Brady throws a pass, and the guy's got no chance to catch it. The guy barely put his hand on him and wanted the ball at the 1 yard line. They score right before the half. So, I thought that I agree with you, but all of that happened on the same drive. So even if I want to take that drive and throw it away, the Chiefs. Here's what my rant was early, Jeff. Everybody wants to talk about Eric Bieniemy, great coach. He didn't get a job. Tyreek Hill came out and said, when we played them the last time, they played us man-to-man. We thought that they were going to play us man-to-man again, and we did, and we did not. We were not prepared when they played us in zone. That's an indictment of your coach, and the fact that you didn't adjust at halftime is a major indictment of Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree.
So
very hard to disagree.
Yeah, so I agree with you that
Bruce Arians also said, and I don't mean to cut you off, but just to get this in real quick, Bruce Arians said that they had to score 40 points in order to make sure that they could beat the Chiefs, and they kept on a game plan, and it looks like they stuck to it.
Yeah,
there were certain passes that Brady was throwing that were open every time.
Yeah,
it was just, Mahomes comes out, he kept throwing to Kelsey in the middle of the field. That was open like every time. They were getting 6, 7, 8 yards at a pop.
Yeah.
And they just didn't seem to stick with it. And then once it got to a certain point, it was just like, forget it. We can't do this. And I was just like, you got to be kidding me, man. This is awful.
Well, I kept waiting. I'm watching the game, and it's a bad game. Let's be honest. It wasn't a good football game to watch. It wasn't a game you go, this was a classic, No,
it wasn't a classic, but you want to know something? You got to say what's honest here, because this is the whole part of doing what we do. You got to be objective. Tom Brady went out and played a game.
Yeah.
Tom Brady did what he had to do.
Yep.
He did not rely on his defense. He did not rely on anything else. He helped his team. Now, the defense played well, and I was very impressed with the Buccaneers defense.
Yeah.
Okay. But Bruce Arians had a plan. He stuck to it. Tom Brady looked like he played hard throughout the whole game from beginning to end. Patrick Mahomes, I'm not going to say that he was lax, but it seems as though that they were like, okay, we could be behind. They've done it before.
Yeah.
I guess maybe they wanted it. They had a full sense of security.
I agree.
And then by the time they realized, it was too late.
Yeah.
It was too late.
No, I agree. Listen, I went through the whole thing. I went through the pregame show, which I thought was terrible. It was a real woke thing. I went through halftime. I don't know if you saw halftime. It was tremendous.
What was everybody? Some people were saying they felt as though that the halftime show was racially geared. What did you think of that?
I don't know if I'd call it racially geared. I would just say, when was the last time you just saw a rock and roll performer or somebody who people would think would be big for a white audience? I don't know even what that means, but when I watched the guy, I didn't understand any of it. The whole, I don't know if it was underwear on his heads or what they were trying to accomplish. He paid $7 million to be on that show. He paid $7 million to be out there. Now, it got him a lot of publicity. I'm sure it's worth it in the end. But I have to tell you, I can't remember the last time I watched the halftime show. And right now, you keep putting these guys on. I ain't watching.
Let me ask you something. $7 million.
Yeah.
Okay. Nowadays, a lot of these new artists come out, a song or two, maybe an album, a couple videos, and then they seem to fall by the wayside and they never have that glory again.
Yeah.
$7 million, was it worth it? Is he going to recoup that money? And to lay $7 million out, you weren't making $7 million by the end of the week. I think it's going to take him a long time to make that money back, don't you?
Yeah, again, I don't know. I mean, this guy's a Canadian performer. Maybe got him a bigger. I've never heard of him before.
I heard of him, but I never heard of him.
Yeah, I don't know. So, I mean, I thought there was no juice to this game. Now, I don't know if it was the fact that there wasn't a normal NFL where people are in town all week long and the teams are there and there's a lot of great media. it just seemed to be a very blah thing. And it shouldn't have been. I mean, you're talking about a team that was trying to repeat the GOAT versus the young GOAT. Like there were so many different storylines, and it just seemed to me like there was no juice to this game, Jeff. I don't know how you felt leading up to it, but there was no juice.
I don't know if I would say there was no juice, or I would say more that the game just kind of sprung up on us out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think they did a good job in the playoffs.
Yep.
I applaud the NFL for the way that they did what they did. There only seemed to have been one really bad game, which was when Denver didn't have a quarterback and was still forced to play, and they weren't allowed to use their coaches who were quarterbacks at one time because they said that, they don't want teams to get the idea of using coaching positions as a roster spot, so to speak.
That makes sense. But,
when you think about what the NFL did, the last game, which should have been a lot better, I think that they had a few duds in a row as far as the Super Bowl goes. From the Patriots-Rams game, which I didn't think was very exciting.
Nope.
I don't think the last couple Super Bowls were all that exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I have to think back, but I want to say going back probably Patriots-Seahawks was probably the last decent Super Bowl game.
Well, who did the Chiefs play last year? I totally even forgot.
Chiefs last year. Oh, my God.
Wasn't the Saints. Wasn't the Rams.
Nope.
It wasn't. Was it Philly? No, it wasn't Philly.
No, it wasn't Philly. Wow, Jeff, good question, man. Holy cow. Why am I drawing a blank on last year's Super Bowl?
Yeah, tell me about it. I can't.
Wow, I have to. I'm just thinking about Super Bowls.
Evidently, you're typing them away there. I can see it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see what the last.
Wasn't Green Bay, Seattle? Maybe. No, it wasn't Seattle.
Kansas City, San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Kansas City, San Francisco.
Yeah. Then before that was New England, Los Angeles was a snoozer. Philly. Okay, I'm going to say sorry. There's two ones that were decent. Philly beat the Patriots, which was a decent game, and I think the game that was probably the best 51 was New England Atlanta. That was a great football game.
Yeah, it was.
That was a good comeback. So, listen, it wasn't a great game. There's a lot of bad stuff to this game. Brady's the GOAT. You can hate him, love him. Here's the thing: is Brady the greatest player of all time, or the greatest quarterback of all time? Because I do not consider Brady the greatest player of all time.
No.
Okay. We can argue over whether it's Lawrence Taylor, Jerry Rice, Walter Payton, or whoever you think. I think, in my opinion, Brady's the best quarterback of all time. But there's been a lot of arguing over, is he the greatest player of all time? He's not the greatest player of all time.
Listen, if you consider Tom Brady the greatest football player of all time, then without a doubt, Yogi Berra is the greatest baseball player. Right. Oscar Robertson is the greatest basketball player, and so on and so on and so on as you could go through the sports. All Tom Brady has is the most championships of any player on a team effort sport. More so, the only team that may be more team effort may be hockey. Maybe hockey. Okay. Only because to set up a certain play and to do certain things, it's all teamwork. We know that. Baseball is, you're on a team, but it's the most singular of the team sports, I feel.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, I got you.
Basketball, nowadays, you put your big three out on the court. The other two guys are just holding down a position.
Yeah. I got it. And John's giving us he hates Tom Brady, and he's not.
I know he does. I thought it was fucking awesome, John. Thank you. You're an inspiration without even knowing it, man.
But listen, you can't take away from the thing. Listen, I said it before. There's a guy who took over a team that was 7-9, hadn't been in the playoffs for 12 years, was not even thought of as a team that on the rise right now, and took them to not only four more games with them this year, took them to the Super Bowl and won. I mean, listen, we can say anything we want. At the end of the day, the guy deserves the accolade. So, again, bad. Here's the thing. I'll tell you this. I think to maybe finish your thought process, I think the Chiefs lost more than the Tampa Bay won the game. If that's what you were trying to say before, I think the Chiefs showed up.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense just didn't do fucking anything.
Well,
they didn't do anything.
Yeah, they came out and looked like they just weren't prepared to win that game. And I kept hanging in there because I kept saying, no, they're going to score touchdowns. And I had the Bucs in the over. I was praying for a couple touchdowns late in the game. I was praying.
You lost?
Yeah, the Bucs in the over.
How much did you lose, if you don't mind me asking and sharing that with us?
I bet 50 on the game that I lost. I wound up, let's see. I think all told, I probably bet about $150, $175. I won a bunch of prop bets. I won. I won about $95 of that money back. What I wanted, I had bet $2 that Gronk would win the MVP, and I thought that there was a good chance he was going to get it. He had 2 touchdowns, almost 70 yards, and Brady was, he was good, but he wasn't great. So I really thought that was I was going to get that one. That was if I had won that $2 bet, I would have won $140, I think.
Well, listen, it's always a sad thing to know a friend lost some money gambling. If you have a problem, there's websites and people you could go to for that. But I take a little solace in knowing that you bet on fucking Tom Brady and lost. Maybe now you'll fucking walk 2 feet in one shoe and stop with this Brady nonsense.
Listen, until the guy, this guy's going to play for 3 more years.
Oh my God, Tom, he can't. Please, he can't. It's just such bullshit. Stop. Let somebody else have a fucking chance. I
got you. Listen, we're gonna move on because I want to get a couple more things in before.
God damn, it's so fucking annoying.
I got you, but you know what? You got it. You can't. The guy's just.
Listen, let me tell you what I hate. Yeah. Tom Brady having any kind of success and winning fucking Super Bowls.
Yep.
Listening to Peyton Manning fucking do a long drawn out snap count and at Omaha. Like, you just don't want to hear certain fucking things 7,000 times a game. And Brady being mentioned as one of the greatest. I just tired of hearing it. Just fucking stop. The only thing, just please, somebody take this guy's leg out, bend his knee backwards, something, shatter his kneecap that he can't play no more. Please.
Let's talk about speaking of Tom Brady and quarterbacks. Let's talk about the quarterback carousel. And
I'm so happy you brought that up.
Yeah, I'm so happy you brought that up. Is I didn't realize that Russell Wilson was as unhappy as he is out in.
Yeah, I read that. It seems as though that is Seattle unhappy with Russell Wilson with how unhappy he is.
Well, he's got a big cap number coming up. They've sold off all their number 1 picks.
I'm glad you brought up about the cap number. I want to tell you my cap idea. I think you may like it. Oh, no, but let's stay on the quarterbacks because you know what? There's going to be so many. Half the league is going to change quarterbacks.
Well, I got it written down. Wentz is out there. Tua might be out there, especially in the trade for Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson's still hanging out there. Derek Carr's a possibility. Russell Wilson, Sam Darnold, Dak Prescott, just to name a few people.
Yeah.
Mitchell Trubisky.
It's unbelievable.
Foles, there's a ton of guys out there. It's probably easy to tell you who doesn't need a quarterback. Yeah.
Who's staying, yeah.
It's probably easy. Now, here's the funny part. Drew Brees, real quick, he lowered his cap number from $25 million to $1 million for next year, but yet has not said he's coming back or not.
Yeah, I know.
So I think he's coming back. I'd be surprised, but
I don't think he's coming back. Why are you? I don't think he's coming back.
All right, so that's a possibility. Carson Wentz, it looks like they're running him out of town, and the likelihood he's going to wind up in Indianapolis would be in Indianapolis is his best bet. But, are they running the wrong quarterback out of town, Jeff? Jalen Hurts didn't look like the answer.
Yes, but his feelings got hurt, so they got to get rid of him. Nowadays, you got a quarterback or anybody on your team, never mind just a quarterback, anybody on your team, once their feelings get hurt, that's it. They're gone. They got to go. They have to go.
I agree. But then let's go back to the Russell Wilson thing for half a second. He's sitting out there telling people, I'm tired of getting hit. I'm tired of this. He's bad-mouthing his teammates. Can he go back at this point and play for that team?
Listen, if Russell Wilson got sacked 14 times in the year and he goes on his interviews and he's like, you know what? I'm getting hit too much. This shit's got to stop. This, that, and the other thing. Then he's wrong. I think he got hit like 50 times or sacked 50 times last year.
This year, yeah.
And he's in the league for how many years?
Yeah, it's
2 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
How many Pro Bowls? Yeah. He's got the right to say something.
Right,
he has more of a right to say something than Deshaun Jackson has to say of anything.
Yeah, I mean, well, here's the thing about Russell Wilson that I don't like, and he wants input on player decisions, on player personnel, and I'm sorry, you're a player. Go out and play. That whole thing. I want input. No, you don't get input. You don't have an input on this.
You know what? You're right, but evidently. Not in today's NFL. Evidently, in today's NFL, that has changed.
Yeah,
because Deshaun Watson may be getting changed because he didn't have input on who got hired. Russell Wilson is making personnel decisions.
Yeah,
and should I say it?
Yeah.
Can I say it? Should I say it? Please note that the quarterbacks involved.
Yes, I got you. Yeah,
Okay.
I got you.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, listen, I get that. It's not like
I'm sorry. I want to add a little bit more to that. Carson Wentz in Philly being possibly replaced by Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
I listen. It's no
the movement is here.
Oh no, 100%. I said it before, and again, I don't care how people take this. They would before the Super Bowl. If I told you Todd Bowles should get another job as a head coach, you look at me like I was retarded.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no.
Why?
Todd Bowles, and I'll explain why I feel. I can't speak for anybody else. Todd Bowles is a very, very well-respected defensive coordinator.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
And now, because of this Super Bowl win, has now put himself in a position where if he doesn't get another job, it's going to be a head scratcher, and people are going to say, well, this isn't right. We're going to have to revamp the Rudy rule, this, that, and the other thing. But he did coach a team. He did stop Mahomes.
I'll listen. I'm not disagreeing. That's why I said before when I first started, I said before the Super Bowl, if I said to you Todd Bowles deserved a head coaching job, you'd say I was crazy. So now, does he deserve an opportunity? Maybe. I don't know. Some guys are just second bananas or a defensive coordinator. Not everybody's a head coach. Here's my problem with it. Now, the NFL's talking about trying to come up with a plan to not let people hire any coaches till after the Super Bowl, which I think is fine. I think that's okay because there's a restriction on guys interviewing. You can't be a free agent till after the Super Bowl.
It's too confusing. It's way too confusing. But I'll tell you why it can't be that way.
Why?
It can't be that way because teams are going to want to have their coaches in place before free agency. And I don't think there's certain teams that take forever in their quarterback search. Okay, but there should be some provision. Somehow they do it that the coach gets to, you can't interview him because he's still playing, but you can interview him next week because there's a bye week. That's a little confusing.
Right.
But they want to have their teams in place so they can implement, have time to strategize before free agency. Could imagine going into free agency and your coach has been here for a week.
No, I get it, and I agree with you that there needs to be a better way to do it, and I'm with you on that. I think that's a fair statement, but don't tell me that all of a sudden, Todd Bowles learned how to be a head coach because he won this Super Bowl. Don't tell me that Brian Leftwich is now all of a sudden, well, why didn't he get an interview when, last year the guy had a team that was 7-9, same players except Tom Brady. He gets Tom Brady, and all of a sudden now he's a genius. Listen, here's what I said before, and I'll stick to what I said. You're not going to tell me in today's day and age that there's a football candidate out there who's a great guy and is a great decision, and an NFL team says, no, I'm not going to hire him because he's black. It ain't happening now. 60s, 70s, I'll say, yeah, I'll agree with you. Maybe a guy didn't get a job because people, the owners were older and they had this philosophy in their head. I'm telling you, in today's day and age, they would take a guy who was striped if he was a good enough coach. So I'm not buying in today's day and age, Jeff, that an NFL team or a Major League Baseball team or anybody else that they're going, that guy's a great candidate, but we're not going to hire him because he's black. I'm not buying it.
I agree.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
I think this, listen, do guys get overlooked? Yeah. I think Bieniemy, the honest truth is, people don't think he's a good coach. The guy has some troubles in his past. Let's look past it.
Well, you know what, Tom? Before you go off on that, 2 years in a row, he was a highly touted candidate. 2 years in a row, he left with no job.
Right.
So there's nothing more to be said. There has to be him. It can't be the rest of the NFL.
Right.
It has to be him.
So I think what people are saying is, hey, he's got a great quarterback. Andy Reid calls the plays. Maybe he's not the genius people think he is because he's the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs. And I have to tell you, when you watch the Super Bowl, if you think he's a great coach, I got to beg to differ with you.
Well, let me ask you this: is maybe Andy Reid planning on? They tell him go for your interview. Maybe the teams have offered him a job, and he just says no. Is he told that maybe he's the next Chiefs coach?
Maybe I don't know. There's been no word up, but the guy's interviewed all over the place. So
I know
anything's possible. But I'm sorry, I'm just not buying into today's day and age that there are teams out there that won't hire a black coach or take.
I don't think that's it. I think that it's him, and it has nothing to do with skin color.
I agree with you. And again, a month ago, Todd Bowles was getting an interview because, they were just looking for candidates. Todd Bowles is a good defensive coordinator, but and again, should he get another job? Yeah, he probably should get another job. But after what he did with the Jets, I mean, he let that locker room run wild, especially Wilkerson and Sheldon Richardson. That's why he lost that team. So he didn't know how to discipline them. So listen, I'm all for anybody getting a job. I'm tired of hearing they didn't get it because they're black. It's just not. It's not in today's world. It's a whole different ball game. I'm sorry.
Speaking of jobs, I got to get this off my chest.
Go ahead.
All right, only because I think that with the quarterback carousel coming up and free agency and the salary cap issues and so many teams that are over the cap, this, that, and the other thing, I wanted to propose to you as an owner of an NFL franchise.
Go ahead.
I want you to pick a name for your NFL franchise.
Let's see. What would be if I had an NFL? What city am I in?
Monroe, New Jersey.
Ooh,
I'm not giving you a big city.
So I'm going to be the Monroe Mighty Dogs.
It's the best we could come up with, Tom.
Listen, I'm working on it, but that's what's I come up with the Monroe Mighty Dogs.
All right, so here you are, the general manager of the Monroe Mighty Dogs.
Okay.
Now you have to build a team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm going to propose to you, and you are the first one because you're building a team.
Mm-hmm.
The salary cap last year was $200 million, but some people invested as far as $45 million, if not more, in a quarterback, taking up roughly 25% of the salary cap for that team. Now, it's your team. So if you want to pay your quarterback $199 million, you can. It's your business.
Sure.
And then split the other million against all the other players.
Mm-hmm.
But how would you feel as being the first owner, general manager, president, owner, to implement a sliding pay scale for every position? And you are the first one to implement that on paper and show me how you would work it. Wow. So in other words, a quarterback, okay, you could spend anywhere from $8 million a year on the low end to your quarterback and $33.75 million as a top end quarterback. Okay. And you could slide anywhere between there. We're going to put caps within the caps to avoid people paying 25, 30% of their salary cap for one position. Defensive end, we say a good defensive end could fetch anywhere from 12 million to, I don't know, a low of 2 million to a high of 16 million.
Mm-hmm.
Safeties, a low of 3 million to a high of 19.5 million. Okay. And you got to go in between there. And, if you want to get a high-end safety and pay him, or a high-end defensive end, or a high-end quarterback, or cornerback, or quarterback, but you got to stay within that margin. And all of those numbers on the high end will add up to your salary cap. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
A salary cap that caps out at X amount of dollars. This year, it's going to be 180 million because of COVID last year and everything else.
Yeah.
But if you were to max out on all of those numbers, they would come out to 180. Wow. Do you think the NFL should implement something like that to keep the game even more level than it is now with just a regular salary cap.
I get, to me, it makes total sense. You know, and I think the NFL owners would go for it, but I doubt the players will go for it. You know,
Well, you know what? Sooner or later, it doesn't matter, because let's just say that Patrick Mahomes plays out his contract now. Okay. And let's say that he wins another 3 Super Bowls before his contract is up. Now his contract is up. And now he's like, I want $60 million a year. And the Kansas City Chiefs may turn around and be like, well, we want to give you $60 million a year, but we can only afford to give you $32 million a year because we have to pay the rest of the team and we just don't have the money. If you don't want to accept $32 million, thank you for your service. And off you go.
Yeah.
So I feel as though that maybe the NFL should consider something like that. What do you think of that?
Well, I think it makes total sense. I mean, listen, you know, I'm sorry. I know that Patrick Mahomes is a great player, and the contract's kind of written in a good way, but $50 million a year, your whole salary cap is right now it's 190 something million. It's about to go down. You're paying him.
I heard it's going to be 180.
Yeah,
that's what I read.
I've heard the same number. You know, you're paying your quarterback 45% of that number. I mean, that's
a lot of money.
It's a lot. It's a lot of money. 45%. I'm sorry. That would be about 30% of that money. All right. Either way, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you know, I think it would be a perfect thing to do. I just don't. The players are never going to allow a pay scale, even sliding or not, in their bargain agreement. They'd have to. The owners have to give up something big. But to me, it makes total sense.
One day, I think it's going to happen. And the reason why I think it's going to happen is because when a player like Mahomes or Tom Brady or an Aaron Rodgers, who's in their prime, can't be signed by anybody.
Right.
Because they're looking for $55, $60, $65 million a year. And they're going to be like, come on, I got $35 million for the rest of the year for my salary cap.
Yeah.
I can't do it. Something has to give. Now, you as the owner of the Monroe Mighty Dogs should be able to sign whatever player you want. That's your business. That's your prerogative. If you want to sign him for whatever money that you want to give him, that's also your prerogative.
Yeah.
But somewhere somebody's going to wake up and be like, you know what? I can't do this, because now I have a quarterback who, like on Madden, is rated a 92, but the average rating on my offensive line is going to be 64.
No, that again.
And how am I going to protect this 92 with a bunch of 64s?
I agree. Listen, I agree with you, and I think the pay scale got out of whack with Kirk Cousins a few years back. I don't know if he's done or he's on his 4th year now with that.
He's still got, I think, 2 years left in it. Oh, and that's another thing too. I was reading earlier. That is a possibility too of somebody that may look to move on from their quarterback to Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, and listen, this quarterback carousel is just starting to turn. But the scary part is you're starting to hear big names. I mean, Deshaun Watson was one, and I'm not the biggest Deshaun Watson fan, but that's a pretty big name to be moving. But Russell Wilson, you know, that's a whole different. You know, that's a whole different thing.
Right now, Deshaun Jackson, according to NFL.com, is the 4th rated quarterback in the league right now. Okay, they did the final 59 quarterbacks, or the best 59 quarterbacks in the NFL. Deshaun Watson was 4.
Again, I understand that on papers and stuff. Let me ask you a question, seriously. Based on the quarterbacks this year, I'm not talking about who's going to be around next year. Based on the quarterbacks this year, would you put him at 4 on your list?
Listen, you're putting Drew Brees and Ben Roethlisberger at 4. You're putting Carson Wentz at 4. You're putting Jared Goff at 4.
I don't know.
Right now, as it stands, I would say that he is probably within the top 5 quarterbacks, because there's other quarterbacks that fell. Is it going to be Matthew Stafford? Is it going to be Matt Ryan? I don't think so.
No,
Teddy Bridgewater, Cam Newton, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Nope.
These are quarterbacks that have fallen a little bit to the wayside, don't you feel?
Okay. So then is he an elite quarterback because of his skill level, or is he that number 4 because everybody else sucked?
Well, honestly, I think, and I'm trying to choose my words carefully, okay? Because I want to explain it as I'm saying it. So I think that guys like you are kind of too old school. And the quarterback position, we said that it was going to evolve and that the running game was going to come back in the form of a running back. It's coming back in the form of a quarterback that's mobile.
Correct. Good point. Good
Okay.
point. Yes, good
So
point.
I don't think that because you're you're kind of rigid with the way that you think, and that's fine because that's the way you came up in the game, looking at the game, watching the game, and everything else. You're not ready for a running quarterback, and you're not the only one. There's a lot of people that are not ready for a running quarterback. I don't especially like it because if your quarterback gets cracked, that's it. He could be done for the season, and your team could be shot because they put such a high bounty on one guy, you know. And I think a lot of it has to do with old timers we are now, and unfortunately in that category, watching the game and not being able to accept the older mobile quarterbacks. You know what I mean? I think that has a lot to do with it. We said the running game was coming back. I feel as though that it did come back, but not in the form of a running back, of the form of a mobile quarterback.
No, I got you. But see, mobile's okay. I don't see Lamar Jackson is a running quarterback. Deshaun Watson, I'm not sure I put him in that category. He
runs for some.
He's a mobile quarterback. He's kind of like a Mahomes type. He can move, get out of trouble. Aaron Rodgers. I don't mind that kind of quarterback. To me, it's the quarterback I don't like is the quarterback who runs consistently. My problem with Deshaun Watson is he's had some of the best receivers in the game. He's got an incredible defense, and he doesn't win playoff games. The coach got fired for it. You know what? I'm putting that on Deshaun Watson just as much as I am on Bill O'Brien.
Deshaun Watson had 440 rushing touchdowns and 440 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns. Okay, he threw for 4,823 passing yards, 8.9 yards per attempt, 33 touchdown passes, 7 interceptions, 70.2% completion rate. And the only people that were listed ahead of him was Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, then Josh Allen, then Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson, Ryan Tannehill in the top 10 at number 8. Wow. Justin Herbert at number 9. First year in the league, number 9. Yeah. Kyler Murray, number 10. Baker Mayfield, Derek Carr, Matthew Stafford at 13. I'm only going to do 2 more. Matt Ryan and Kirk Cousins round out the top 15. Now, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to go through the rest of them, of course, because there's too many. If I asked you for your top 15, I don't think that I would get those same guys that
probably not. From you. Probably not. You're 100% right. It's a good point on your end. And again, I try not to be too rigid. I kind of want to embrace, like, I've come to the conclusion lately that you don't need a top of the line running back to win. Look at this Super Bowl. I mean, Fournette's been an afterthought for a couple of years. Ronald Jones is a good back. I mean, I've changed my thinking. I just don't put Deshaun Watson in that category as a great quarterback. I just don't.
Leonard Fournette looked like fucking Walter Payton during the playoffs.
Yes.
Every time he touched the ball, something happened.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, holy shit. Yeah. I always thought of him as a big lumbering type of guy.
Yeah.
Which he pretty much looks like he is. But every time he touched the ball, man, he was picking up some real estate.
No, he played. He played really well, especially in the Super Bowl. I thought he had a great game again. Jeff and Tom, Hard Rocket Sports every Thursday night, 7 to 9:30 or so. Glad you guys are with us. We're going to be off next week. I'm taking a vacation, so we'll be off for a week, but then we'll be back. And again, I got a little surprise. I'm working on it. Ain't a guarantee. A big, I would say it's a pretty big name for the 1970s New York sports scene. We'll see if I can put it together, and hopefully I'll bring that back to the show on the 25th. Make sure you're back in 2 weeks. But next week, if you're looking for a little fill-in, I want you to make sure on Wednesday nights you're listening to our good friend John Marhefka and everybody over at RFL Records talking the Fast Lane. It's a great show. They got their artists on. I know he's got some great guests coming up, so make sure you check out RFLRecords.com and support our good friends. And we are a sponsor of that show, Jeff. We are on. We've been we talked about quite a bit last night. So thanks to John.
It's very nice. John's always a cool guy when he comes on the show.
100%.
I was trying to listen to. He had, I think it was Jeff Westlake from Hydrogen on.
Yep.
And I was watching for a few minutes, but I ended up getting tired and going to bed a little on the early side last night.
I love Westlake. But, John, if you're listening still, tell Westlake he's got to take a pause, put a period in there, someone let you ask a question or two. You could go there and go, hey, Jeff, how are you? And he talked for 2 hours. I love Westlake. He's a fantastic musician. And, boy, he is the Peter Barron of our show.
Well, I was just going to make mention of that kind of guest. And I don't know if John is still listening, but you're right. There have been people that come on, and from the minute you say hello, they might as well just change the banner on the show and that we're their guests and that they do all of the talking. And sometimes it's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
And other times it's horrendous because you're sitting there like, does this motherfucker like need air to survive? Because he's not breathing. He's definitely not breathing.
Yeah, but Jeff's
it's like a fucking sea turtle. He took a gulp of air and held it for like forever.
But Jeff's a great guest and a fantastic musician. And it was a great interview. I listened to the whole thing. Got to listen to a little bit of Sammy from Red Rain, and I got to listen to the boys from Corners of Sanctuary, and good night on that. So, guys, Wednesday night, 7 to 9. Check out Talking the Fast Lane. You'll love it. If you're looking for a little music, that's where you go on a Wednesday night. Listen to John and everybody. And don't forget this weekend, Mussolini Cuomo has the Governor Mussolini himself has allowed people to walk and congregate inside. 10% of you.
Let me ask you something. Go ahead. Keep ripping on him. I think it's great.
Yeah, because he's come down from the mountain and decided that you can go inside a restaurant. Now you can actually even go to a football game or a baseball game now in New York and have 10% capacity because Kim and DeBozo have come down off the mountain and decided arbitrarily at 10% can be in a 60,000. You can have 6,000 people in a 60,000 seat stadium or 4,000 in a 40,000. And but go to a restaurant and have.
Don't you live in Jersey?
Yes.
So why are you so worried about these idiots over here?
Because it affects my sports. I love turning on and you know
they put on a fake fucking crowd track.
Yeah, it's always great. Yeah, it's great to watch a Ranger game and there's nobody in the stands. It's like the worst.
Hey, they got fucking card. My wife said to me, you know, my wife doesn't watch much of the way of sports. I'm sure you know that. You probably tell that about her right off the bat. So we're watching the Super Bowl and she's like, wow, there's a lot of people there. How many people are there? And I'm looking at it and I'm like, holy shit, there is a lot of people there. And just like a typical video game where you would see the guy in the crowd do the same, like, same motion all game because that's how they put him in the game. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's pretty much what it was like watching the game. You see a couple people like, and then the people next to them all game. Because they were cardboard cutouts and they weren't moving.
Yes.
And I'm just watching. I'm like, you know what? If you look at it, it looks like the stands are packed.
Yes.
But those people were spread out so far apart.
It looked like
they couldn't even see the next guy that was next to them in the same fucking row, much less worry about catching fucking COVID.
Yes, you're 100% right, guys. But yeah, you listen, guys. The Mussolini Governor Mussolini has decided to come down and bless the masses and let people go into a restaurant and eat. So make sure you go out this weekend, take your honey out, and take her to dinner for Valentine's Day, and thank you. Send some prayers up for the dear Governor Mussolini himself, because he's so sweet and nice, and he beat on the masses and gave you guys. I want today, Joe.
You want to hear my going out to dinner story last week?
Please.
Okay. My wife, she comes home. We had to do a few things around the house, get them done, and she was like, let's go out to eat. So I'm like, all right, well, what are we going to do? You want to get food, bring it back? What do you want to do? So she's like, well, let's go to Duffy's. You ever go to Duffy's on Forest Avenue?
Staten Island? You guys, what you guys want?
Awesome burgers. I love going to Duffy's. Awesome chicken wings. So we go to Duffy's, and there's no indoor dining, so we got to sit outside. Thanks to the snowstorm, it ripped down part of their tent.
Oh.
So we were sitting outside.
Oh.
And my wife was like, well, it's not too cold, so we'll go. So I'm like, I think you should call an order. And then she said, by the time we get there, it's good,
Yeah.
No, come on, we're going to go. It'll be an adventure. Everything's an adventure with my wife. So I'm like, all right, it'll be an adventure. Okay, whatever you want to do, sweetie. Dude, we sat down. We made the mistake of ordering ice water. We didn't even get the fucking glasses of water. And we're like, listen, make that shit to go, please. We got to get the fuck out of here. So a couple people come standing there. There were actually people eating. Every single table was taken.
Right.
These two other people come, and they're standing there. They're like, freezing. So I said to my wife, I'm like, listen, we ain't staying here. Why don't you go in the car? I'll wait for the food. Let these people sit down and eat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's what we did. And she went in the car. And then they took forever.
Oh, really?
Oh, my God. Yeah. I don't know if they were cooking like 900 fucking burgers or what they were doing, but it took forever. Finally, it came, and I was like, oh, just give me my food. Let me get back in the fucking car. And then my wife's like, what took so long? What was going on over there? Were you talking to somebody? I'm like, I wish I was talking to somebody.
Yeah,
my jaw movement would have made some warmth for me. But yeah, it sucked.
Yeah, it's bad. I tell you a quick story. I had a meeting today in the city. I haven't been in the city in a long time, especially uptown. I was right by the Garden. So my boss told me it was a 2:00 meeting. So 1:45, I go walking in. I go upstairs to the office, and they're like, you're early. It's 2:30 meeting. So now I got nothing to do. It's 1:45, and I'm like, shit, what am I going to do? So I said, let me go walk and sit down someplace, not remembering that Mussolini has the eating that you can't eat anywhere. So I'm walking up there, and I'm realizing you can't sit. There's nowhere to sit. There's people sitting outside on chairs. I said,
I'm sorry. Keep going with your story. Keep going.
I said, I'll be damned if I'm going to sit in an outside restaurant, freezing my nuts off, and try to eat a sandwich or have something to drink. And I literally just walked around the city for about a half hour, 40 minutes before my meeting started. And, that's why I say thank you to Governor Mussolini for bestowing on us the opportunity to eat inside. But guys, we're here. It's Jeff and Tom talking sports and music. Had a great show so far tonight. We're going to wrap it up when Jeff comes back. I think I got one or two things I wanted to bring up to Jeff. I'm going to play something when Jeff comes back because I do want to get this in because I thought it was a great topic Jeff brought up to me. I'm just going to.
All right, first question is from Ruben over in Corpus.
I want to hold on to that for a minute till Jeff comes back. And what happened to Jeff if I did that? No, I want to go back to that. Yeah. So again, guys, Jeff and Tom are hanging out. Make sure you come on back in about 2 weeks. We'll take a break from next week, and we'll be back on the 25th. Jeff, I want to get this in before we go. I mean, I got a lot to talk about, but I'm going to hold off on it. And I'm thinking, I'm home. I'm off on vacation next week, so maybe we'll do it off a different night instead of missing altogether. But we'll see. We'll talk about that. We'll see what your availability is. But you brought this up to me, and I thought this was a great topic. And
yes, I remember. This was great.
I want to play the clip first, but I will tell you, I always did wonder what they talked about during a match when they were. I know when they were had a guy in a headlock, they were whispering what they were going to do next, or that kind of stuff. But when the guys were just face to face and they were jawing at each other, what were they actually saying? And I want everybody to listen to this quick clip from Stone Cold Steve Austin, who's one of the funniest characters of all time. And then we'll have a conversation. Hold on.
It's Christy. Ruben says, "Hey Steve, glad I discovered the show. Since I started listening, I've been rewatching some classics, and I've always wondered, when two men are face-to-face mouthing off to one another, are they actually speaking? If so, what's being said? Usually after delivering a stunner, you get in your victim's face and just let them have it. I always wondered what kind of stuff you used to say. Thanks again for the show. It's always great to hear your voice." Thanks for writing in, Ruben. I appreciate you listening to the show. And when two guys are face to face, normally, man, they could just be talking bullshit to each other, talking about the weather, where you're going to go after the match, or they really might be in it and kind of mouthing off to each other and kind of promo.
What'd you say?
No, I'm just laughing the whole idea when he's like, what are you doing after the match? Like, could you imagine that being in somebody's face? You want to go get a fucking beer after this shit, man? I know this place right down the street. My wife is fucking sick. Just God knows, it's great. It's great.
Hold on.
Style. If the microphone's not there, it could be anything under the sun. There were so many times that I was standing face to face There were so many times when I was standing face to face to a guy, I might just be bullshitting with him, telling him some of the most ludicrous bullshit in the world, or I could actually be talking about, maybe something I was thinking about or a direction I wanted to go in the match. But normally it is what it is, and it's a little bit of showbiz, it's a little bit of filler. And as far as what I said to the people I stunned as they were laying on the match, normally it was just a lot of foul-mouthed four-letter words and call them a smelly sumbitch and all this other stuff. I would just kind of, give them the what for after I gave them that stunner, and it just kind of me, the showbiz part of it, talking trash after, and it really was trash. Everything that came out of my mouth was trash.
You gotta love that because I love to get into behind after all these years, getting into like the behind the scenes. That's one thing I never knew. Like what were they actually saying when they were face to face, and were they in character or they doing just what you said? Like talking angry but saying, "Hey, I'm gonna get a beer after the match." And I think that's great. I think he's a phenomenal guy. I'm going to listen to his podcast more often.
Yeah, it's funny the way that he delivers it.
Yes,
I got to give him that much. It's actually hysterical to hear him say those things. And when you're thinking about these guys, it's like, you know what? The big thing is they probably had to ask, is there a mic on? No. And then they're like, well, you're going to take me, throw me into the ropes.
Right.
Then after that, you fucking push me or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
something
absolutely.
like that.
Absolutely.
You don't know. My back hurts, my asshole hurts. Let's get this over with quick. They're pushing one another.
Yeah.
Let's go. Come on. Clothesline me. Let's go. You don't know, but it's funny to know because for years we were on the fence. It's got to be real.
Yeah.
But how could he get hit in the head with a chair 9 times and live, much less win the fight? Yeah. I don't understand that, but it's just so funny to hear this shit, and it really is.
It's funny to get. It's almost like I guess if you were into magic and you sat down and a guy said, "All right, here's how it worked. This is what we did. This is how we did it." Like I guess that would be the equivalent in my opinion. But this is like getting to find out all the things we always wanted to find out. And I have to tell you, I know you invited me to at least one wrestling, one of those wrestling pages. And they're hysterical. I love them. I love when they,
that one was good. Yeah.
There was one today. I don't know if you brought it up today or somebody else did. They said, was Bob Backlund a jobber? Meaning and somebody said yes. And I said, well, you can't be a 2-time world champion, hold the belt for 7 years, and you were a jobber. And I went, that's interesting because Bob Backlund has to be the most wrestling superstar. I mean, think about before you had Bruno and superstar Billy Graham, and then Bob Backlund for like 5 or 7 years of just
6 years he held the belt.
And then next thing you know, here comes Hulk Hogan. Like you couldn't have a bigger contrast ever. But Bob Backlund was a good champion. He was, he fought all the time, and he was a good wrestler.
I think I might have seen Bob Backlund wrestle once or twice.
Okay.
Because when he was champion, he never wrestled. And then once the Iron Sheik beat him for the belt, and then Hulk Hogan beat the Iron Sheik for the belt, Bob Backlund was just, I don't know where he went, but you never seen him again. Okay.
Well, he would show up with weird things. Like, do you remember he did the step challenge? He did a whole show. During the entire show, he was doing, walking up 2 steps, walking back down 2 steps, walking up 2 steps, walking back down 2 steps. Like he was supposed to be like this guru.
Oh, dude, I don't know if he was a fitness guru, but he was definitely somebody that was built. He looked like a college kid, like a college athlete.
Yes,
and he was built. He was really built like a motherfucker. Wasn't overly big, but he was solid. He was cut up. A natural build, I would say.
He was a good wrestler. I saw him wrestle live.
Yeah.
In the late 70s. I don't know if you remember this because I don't know if you were into wrestling at that point, but I was. And it was Saturday Night Wrestling at that point, obviously, at midnight. And he was managed by a guy named Arnold Skaaland. Do you remember Arnold Skaaland?
I saw a video today because I'm going to ask you about this afterwards. And he came out and he chewed Arnold Skaaland out like he was going mental. It was when he turned heel. Like, do you know anything about Bob Backlund turning heel?
Yes, it was well after he lost the title, and he became a bad guy for a while. But when I saw him, Arnold Skaaland was his manager, and he was fighting in a tag team for a little while with The Rock's grandfather, Chief Peter Maivia. I don't know if you remember Chief Peter.
I remember the name, yeah.
High Chief Peter Maivia. So they were wrestling together against somebody else. I can't for the life of me remember who it was, but midway through the match, Chief Peter Maivia turned on Backlund and beat him and Arnold Skaaland to death. I mean, just whipped it. He was tearing Arnold Skaaland's clothes off. It turned into this 3 or 4 month back and forth. And then it culminated in a steel cage match in Madison Square Garden. And my father took me and my brother to see it because we were just locked and loaded. And this is when you had to stay up till midnight on Saturdays. And if you missed it, you were done. There was no
DVR or anything.
You had no record at that point. You had to pray somebody else you knew saw it. So you sat up on Saturday nights with the toothpicks in your eyes, watched the first half hour of Saturday Night Live because it was cool at that point. And then you went to wrestling. But it was a great match, and he won the steel cage match. That was one of the first. Roddy Piper came in. He did Roddy Piper wrestled that night. And I remember Don Morocco and Stan. What was Stan? Was Stan the Man Hansen? The hard punch specialist.
There was a couple different Stans.
Stan the
Wasn't
Man.
there Stan the Lariat, Stan the Man Hansen, a couple different ones,
Yeah.
right?
So that's what I remember. Bob Backlund was a great wrestler, not the greatest performer I ever saw, but a great wrestler. So,
when he was wrestling, they were actually wrestling.
Yes, absolutely.
He wasn't a performer at that time. They weren't performers; they were wrestlers.
Yes.
But I saw for the first time the picture of the cross-face chicken wing. It was called.
Yes.
His signature move.
Yes.
Which, good God, it looked like it hurt just the way that he had his hand across this way, your arm up there. I was like, holy shit.
I forgot about that move.
I would have been tapping like a motherfucker as soon as you say it. Like, all right, we're going to do it now. Like, no, fuck you. I'm tapping. I'm done.
Yeah. Don't even threaten to put me in that. Yeah.
What's that?
Don't even threaten to put me in it. You would have quit.
No, it definitely was not cool looking, man.
Yeah. So no, I mean, I love these wrestling things. I'm constantly anytime I get to go to Facebook, I kind of check them out, and they pop up on my news feed all day. And some of them are good. They talk about the greatest matches. We were talking about the other day. Was it you who said that you thought it was Hogan and The Rock, or was that somebody else?
Somebody else said it on one that, you mentioned something and I commented on it,
yes.
And then somebody else came in and chimed in and said something, and I said, I remember going to watch wrestling when they were wrestling on high school fields when we saw Ivan Koloff, the Russian Bear or whatever the fuck his name was, wrestle, and it was at the end of the night, and I remember him coming out on the field, and you know what? I don't know if you remember this or not. He was the bad guy. He was the heel.
Yes.
Ivan Koloff, and I remember Ivan Koloff coming out with a bit of a smile on his face because the people there, they kind of cheered for him.
Yeah.
And even though he was the bad guy, he came in the one-piece outfit with the chains and the Russian boots on.
Yes.
And he kind of smiled and did like that, a real quick wave. And I just, you think about now The Rock comes on and he's wearing God knows how much his clothes alone cost. And here's Ivan Koloff probably in a rental car driving through Staten Island on his way to Asbury tomorrow for a show in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Just like, wow, how has it fucking changed, man?
Yeah, it's true. And I don't think I'm not sure it's changed for the better. I remember being on the Belt Parkway heading to my grandmother's house on Long Island, and behind us in the car was Johnny Rods and Jose Estrada.
Oh man.
Driving behind us in the car.
Not exactly the two that I would want to see from back then, but nonetheless, when you're a little kid, that had to be cool.
They had to be. I want to say they were in like a Plymouth Duster driving behind us, and like at the time you're like, oh my God, there's these guys, and I just remember like years later going, what were those two guys doing in a Plymouth? They made no money. Couldn't have made any money if they were driving that car.
If they were driving a Plymouth Duster, no.
I don't know exactly. It was one of those cars you would go, my father has a better car than Jose.
Yeah. Yeah. My father's not even famous and he makes more money than you guys.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I think there's history to it, and I think that's what we miss.
I'm going to tell you, I don't know if I ever told you this one. When I was a kid, maybe 10, 11, 12 years old, probably around 11 or 12, me, my brother, we went to Sha Na Na. Remember when Sha Na Na was on TV?
Absolutely.
A lot of people at that age were into them. So I remember asking my mother and father, could we go see Sha Na Na? And finally, one day, my mother and father were like, they were playing in Valley Forge. So we went to Valley Forge to go see Sha Na Na.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. But we didn't have tickets.
Oh,
we
really?
didn't have tickets. Yeah. So they were hoping to get tickets there. So I don't remember what happened, but we didn't get the tickets. But we go into a diner to go get food, and all of a sudden I'm walking past this booth, and I'm like, holy shit! I was like, it's Screaming Scott and Bowser from Sha Na Na. And my mother's like, are you is that them? Are you sure? I'm like, I know it's them. I know it's Bowser and Sha Na and Screaming Scott were like two of my favorites from there. I was like, could we please go say hello? Could we please go say hello? And they signed this envelope that my mother had.
Okay.
Yeah, and I remember my mother and father saying, like, yeah, we wanted to get tickets to the show. We were going to come to the show. And they were like, come to the place, come to the back door, knock on the back door, tell them Screaming Scott sent you, give me your names. I'm going to tell them your names. Everything was all set up so that we could go get tickets to go see Sha Na Na. Didn't happen.
Come on.
Didn't happen. They said no, we can't do that. Oh, no, come on. They probably say that to everybody. And I was like, but please. And they were just like, no. And I'm like, you motherfucker.
You know what's funny about that? You know, I watched it every week.
Why, you were in Valley Forge too?
No. I used to love that show. I used to watch it with my parents every week, and I was a big Bowser fan. Everybody was.
Dude, it was on every night. It was on every night at like 7 o'clock or 7:30, right before the Benny Hill show.
And then one night, I never forget, sometime in very early 80s, I was watching TV, and they had this thing called the Match Game Hollywood. I don't remember the TV show, The Match Game, but they wound up combining the first half hour of the Match Game with the second half hour was Hollywood Squares.
Of course, I remember.
Okay, and at the and in there, the host of the Match Game was Gene Rayburn.
Yeah.
Host of the Hollywood Squares was Bowser, and he had his hair was all fluffed out, and the Drew Fro and the whole bit, and it was like a whole different person. And I was like, that can't be Bowser. Bowser has his hair slicked back. That's not Bowser. And I remember my phone going, you retarded? That's Bowser. Yes, it's John Bowser. Bowser. Yeah.
There he is. Yeah, you can't see it. That's too much. Yeah, he's still alive, by the way.
Is he really? He's got to be
still alive. 73 years old.
Okay. Yeah. One of my favorite shows. Sha Na Na was one of my favorite shows growing up. It was one of those shows we watched all the time.
Yep, I remember, of course.
And the one black guy who
and Screaming Scott is still alive too, by the way.
Come on, is he really?
I swear to God, he's still fucking on. He's Screaming Scott Simon, 72 years old. Bowser was 73.
Wow. It was a fun
Probably
show.
younger than our parents.
Right, he's right at my parents. He's a little older, a few years older than my mom, about a year older than my dad. Good stuff. Good stuff, man. Again, guys, we'll wrap it up here. We'll give Jeff the final word if he's got anything. But guys, remember, we won't be back next week. We're taking a week off unless we decide to do a show earlier in the week. It's up to Jeff. I'll leave it up to him. If not, then we'll be back for sure on the 18th. I'm sorry, on the 25th. And make sure, like I said, you check out our website, go to YouTube, and all that good stuff. We got a lot of great stuff. We'll be little football from now on, but we're going to start mixing in some other stuff and a lot more music along the way. So make sure you check us out.
One thing we're definitely going to do, we said to Tommy earlier in the week, we just didn't get a chance to do it tonight because I ended up working late and all this other shit. But we're going to pick one team a week. And in our estimation, what does this team have to do in the NFL, of course? What does this team have to do to take the next step and to actually, start to play like a real team, win, whatever it is to improve? And we're going to give our thoughts on that one. So that's something that's going to start soon. And I got a feeling I would like to touch base on a little bit more wrestling.
Sure, I'm
talk about it, and it happens, but I'd like to get that to be a regular, man.
No. We're going to have a once-a-month thing for sure where we're going to do our own version of an old wrestling match. We're going to have it up on the screen. There's a new thing here in StreamYard that I've been playing those clips. You see, it's a much easier way to do it, and I'm going to upload. We're going to pick a wrestling match, 4 or 5 minutes long, 6 minutes long. And we're going to do the play-by-play for it. We're going to do our own thing, and we're going to have some fun with that. And, yes, we're going to do a lot more wrestling. And I put a lot more effort into trying to get some wrestling guests. So we'll see how that all works out.
I would love to get some of these old-timers on here, man. I think it would be great because I want to see, knowing the stuff that we know now, I want to see how they would carry themselves would they still be in character? How much information would they give us? How much would they deny as a wrestler like that? No, that's true. That's that they don't know what they're talking about, kind of shit. So I would love to be able to do that with some of them, without a doubt, man.
Yeah, I'm going to make a concerted effort to get that accomplished and do as much as I can to get some of those guys on, and we will incorporate some wrestling into the shows whenever possible now, and we'll do our thing like we always do. But we're going to end this show right here. Again, guys, enjoy your Valentine's Day weekend. It's going to be cold for the next week or so, and more snow in the forecast. So please stay warm and stay safe. Don't drive unless you have to. And listen, do me a favor out there. Go out and support. Now that the Mussolini is allowing people to dine out, please try to go out and support these restaurants and local establishments. They really could use the help. So if you're out there, go out there and support a little bit. And if you need a shirt, I'm going to be stopping by Jeff's house pretty soon. I got shirts, and if you guys want a shirt, reach out.
It's a nice looking shirt, man. That really is. I'm not just saying that. That is a nice looking shirt.
Yep. So
I like the new logo.
Yep, the logo looks good on the shirt. And then I got I even threw in a couple of drawstring bags. I'll be dropping you off some stuff. So
nice.
Your lovely wife can have a shirt. But again, guys, we're going to call it a night. I want to thank everybody along the way. Will Cloak, my dad, everybody who listened on Facebook, especially the early crowd. We had a very packed audience, it seemed, early on. And I want to, of course, thank my partner, Mr. Jeff Tolwinski, for another great show. I'm glad he finally was able to get on. And finally, I was glad to be able to hear him.
Definitely.
Again, good luck to John and everybody at RFL for their Wednesday night show. Good luck to our good friend Joe Gansas and relaunching of Around the Kit. We wish him well. Joe will do a great job. He always does. And again, guys, make sure you come on back and you stay with us. And we'll a lot of football to come. We got the draft coming up. No combine, but there's a lot of football still to come. And the season, the off season, is just getting underway. Jeff.
Yeah, I just cannot wait for some of the things that are going to be showing up in the NFL. I'm anxious to see about the free agency period. I'm anxious to see about the trades. Real quick before you go,
sure.
The Matthew Stafford trade.
Yep.
Did that set the bar way, way too high? Because I'm hearing now that Sam Darnold may go for a 2 and a 3 this year, and a 2 and a 3 next year.
Wait, I heard somebody say this week that Carson Wentz could be 3 number ones. I mean,
shit.
And look, I heard 2 different people this week. One was an ESPN guy, and another one I think on FEN say that there's a possibility that Sam Darnold could garner a number 1 pick for Sam Darnold.
Wow!
But you're right. Without even getting into it, Jeff, you're right. Matthew Stafford, that trade set the bar at a place where what do you do with a young? What after that one? What do you give up for Deshaun Watson? What can you give up to now? 3 number 1.
I don't know, but I know this much. After the Matthew Stafford trade, if you need to be extremely careful, because the Jets, they have some number 1s and everything else. They got 4 number 1s the next 2 years, and they still have Sam Darnold, so you don't know. But I heard that the Texans, one of the lines that I heard from the Texans about the Texans, 3 number 1s, 2 young defensive players. So now, does that mean that you got the 3 number 1s? I would turn around and say, listen, I'll give you my number 1 this year and the 2 Seattle picks. That's fine.
Okay.
I'm not giving up Quinnen Williams, who took a huge step forward this year. I'm not giving him up. Okay. And I don't know who's the other defensive starter, Marcus May.
But really, I mean, who else do they have? I mean,
well, yeah, I know, but that's just like saying it's Marcus May and Quinnen Williams. So now, what are you going to try to beat people 45-38 because you got Deshaun Watson?
Yeah, but you gave up your number 1. So how are you getting him any sort of weapons out there?
Well, they do have some cap room, but I really hope that if that's the Texans, their way of thinking, I hope that they trade Donald, go after one of these other quarterbacks, do what you got to get that kid ATN. If they get that kid ATN with the 23rd pick, you could take a quarterback with the 2nd pick, or maybe even get one in free agency. And I think the Jets would be okay for a while. I really do.
What if the Jets had to give up 2 number 1s and let's say a number two, a couple number twos, future, and you can land Russell Wilson. Would you do?
No. You know why? Because if he was younger, I would say yes.
Okay.
But he's like 30 or 31 years old.
32.
32? Now you're hoping that he could play for 7 to 10 years for your team.
And he's making a ton of money. He's going to want more money in the near future.
Yes, he's a very money-oriented player. But I could see if you have a guy on the right side of 30, that maybe that trade makes sense. But because he's over 30, so even if he plays high quality to 35, 36, even 38, call it 38, you're getting 6 years out of him. I don't know, man.
Would you do a lesser deal? Let's say you could keep your number two this year, give up the Seattle pick this year and next year. Let's say you give up two number ones, but they're both Seattle picks. Would you do that for Carson Wentz?
For Carson Wentz? No, I wouldn't want Carson Wentz.
Okay. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I'm just curious what your mindset is. Okay.
No, you know what? If I could give up, if Seattle would be stupid enough to take their own 2 picks back that they gave up for Jamal Adams, I would do that in a heartbeat. Even better yet, if I had to say, listen, I'll give you my number 2 this year, and their number 2 and the 2 Seattle picks for Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson is to me is okay, because that means you traded your number 1 and Jamal Adams for a starting quarterback
for Russell Wilson.
For Russell Wilson or
Deshaun Watson.
I wouldn't give up much more than that. I couldn't do it.
I don't think you can, because you're giving away the store, and then how do you put anything on the field?
Well, maybe you could turn around. You got a couple 3s, a couple 4s. Maybe you could get something from that nature. Or not right now is the time to hold on to Sam Darnold and dangle him in a couple of different things. I'll give you Sam Darnold and the 2 Seattle picks for Deshaun Watson.
Well, I think that's where you're going to be headed. I think that's ultimately where you're headed with this is something to that effect. I don't know. I keep looking at the Eagles only because, Joe Douglas's history there. I still think Wentz is going to wind up. I think Wentz is wanted in Indianapolis. But
that's what a lot of people are saying.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And again, it's just getting started. I mean, I know the Raiders have been dangling Derek Carr.
Well, actually, no. I heard something else. I heard the Raiders may dangle Mariota.
I heard that as well. I did hear that as well.
It seems as though that Carr may actually stay with the Raiders.
Oh, again, listen, nothing would surprise me. But I mean, Chicago needs a quarterback. The Indianapolis needs a quarterback. The Patriots need a quarterback. I've heard Garoppolo's on the block. He's not on the block. I've heard the Cousins thing's on the block. There's a lot of quarterbacks. Here's the thing: are any of them any good? I mean, what good quarterback can you land right now? If you're a team right now who's a quarterback away, if you're this year's Tampa Bay Buccaneers, okay, let's use Tampa Bay because they got their quarterback, they had enough talent. What teams out there, what quarterbacks out there that you could land that could turn your team around right now and take you to the Super Bowl? Two guys?
You know what, Tom? It's that these guys think that a lot of these coaches think that they could take somebody and give them a change of scenery and be able to do something.
Yeah.
That's why I'm amazed at what the Detroit Lions were getting Goff back, who's a young quarterback. I could see saying a change of scenery may do good for Goff. He may be doing good here. We have a couple things we can do, this, that, and the other thing. Matthew Stafford. Yeah. You gave up how many number 1 picks for him?
Yeah.
2 or 3 picks it was for him?
Yeah, 3 picks. I think 2 1s and a 2.
I mean, come on. The guy's 33 years old.
I gotcha.
What are you getting out of another, even if he plays at a high level, 3 to 5 years?
I would.
The guy's been getting hurt as of late.
That's what I'm saying. I was just about to say, with the injuries he's had the last few years, I think you'd be lucky to get 3 years out of him. Yeah. It's gonna be an interesting off season. It's just getting underway right now. I'm sure that the fireworks will kick off, and who knows what the next big name is going to be out there. Who knows? We'll see, but we'll let you know about it every week here on the Hard Rocket Sports Show. Make sure you come back again in 2 weeks when we do this all over again. So for guys, again, enjoy your holiday weekend. Stay warm, and Hefe, I will absolutely see you over the next few days. For sure, I want to drop off some stuff to you and see you anyway, and. For Jeff and myself, we wish you a happy Valentine's Day And we'll see you back soon. Jeff, anything? You want to say anything on the way out the door?
Just curious if the Hard Rockin' Sports thongs will be available for Valentine's Day. What a better gift to give the missus. Huh?
That's true. It's very true. They're running a little late this year, so we might have to put them on hold for next year. But we do have some shirts that I have to get out. So everybody listen, thanks for listening. For Jeff and myself, I say thank you, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Stay warm and have a great weekend, everybody. Jeff, talk to you later, man.
See you later, man.